democracy and service. Give us wisdom to perceive the right, courage to lead in times of confusion, patience to wait and listen for the hopes and aspirations of our citizens, and wit to devise creative ways of being a community. May we be as concerned for others as for ourselves, and compassionate for the needs of the less fortunate among us. Thus, make this city of ours be a special place. Amen. Welcome all tonight. Mayor Ryan is not with us, so I'm chairing the meeting as Deputy Mayor. Mr. Prevital is also not with us, so Mr. Bajoni is our acting CAO.
He's not with the mayor.
He's not with the mayor, correct. Any disclosure of interest? Being none, adoption of minutes.
Move the minutes.
Moved by Councillor McLean and second by Councillor Brenner, that the council minutes of October 21st, the executive committee minutes of November 4th, and the planning and development minutes of November 4th be approved. Is there any corrections to the minutes? Being none, all those in favor? Opposed? That item is carried. We had no presentations. We have one special delegation. The regional chair is here, John Henry, who will give us an update on the progress and upcoming projects in the region. Welcome, Chair Henry. We do have a 10-minute limit, but I'm sure that Councillor Pickles and McLean will give you extra time as you do for them at the region.
Well, good evening, Deputy Mayor Ash, members of council, staff, and to residents. Thank you for the opportunity to be allowing me to be here tonight just to bring a quick update. But I really want to say thank you to members of council, the regional councillors, and Councillor Brenner for being so active, involved. Of course, you know that Mayor Ryan is the Chair of Planning and Economic Development. Deputy Mayor Ash, you are the Chair of the Police Services Board. Councillor Pickles, you are the Vice Chair of Health and Social Service. And Councillor McLean, you always bring quality to the conversation on issues at the region, and I just want to say thank you because you are involved. And as you're aware that the region delivers an incredible number of and a wide range of programs and services, and this evening I'm going to highlight a few key initiatives and examples of innovative work and creative partnerships being led by the region, and then I'll be able to take some questions. So as everyone's aware, the Regional Council is working to renew the Durham Region Strategic Plan from 2020 to 2024, and this is key because this plan will take it out of this term of council. So coming forward, we're bringing a vision, and we have worked hard, and our staff has worked hard throughout the community, and they've been out and they've consulted through public online surveys from pop-up events, stakeholder sessions, and town hall meetings all over the region. And our target is to have the strategic plan that reflects the resident input ready early in the new year. Another major project that is underway is the comprehensive review of the region's official land use plan. Discussion papers on topics like transportation and urban growth have been released on the Envision Durham website for public input. We want your ideas on how the region should look and function in the future, and the intent is to have this completed by 2022. And this is challenging because staff are also analyzing and responding to the recent revisions of the development charge regime, provincial policy statement, and other changes announced by the province also have caused uncertainty for municipalities. The cuts to childcare and public health and the redesign of the healthcare system, which affects paramedic services and long-term care, leaves us with many unanswered questions. Reconsideration of the route of the Bowmanville Gold Rail extension was also disruptive. For years, the provincial growth plan, our regional and local official plans, included urban development around 4 planned stations on the CP route on the north side of the 401. This route is projected to create 21,000 jobs and 7.8 million square feet of commercial space in Durham. A route on the south side of the 401 simply does not compare in terms of job creation, campus connectivity, downtown revitalization, or walkable stations. So it is very positive that the recent discussions with Metrolinx indicate that they are back on track. Once again focused on the CP rail corridor. And this shift is a true team effort led by the region and the area municipalities, boards of trades, post-secondary institutions, and the development community. And we must continue to reinforce with the province the critical importance of the northern route for Durham. Transit demand in Durham is growing, and ridership on the Pulse route is now 2.2 million annually and continues to grow. From September of 2018 to September of 2019, Pulse ridership increased by 10%. DRT is responding to the demand in Pickering with earlier weekend service and more frequent service on key routes. We've also applied for the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, referred to as the ICIP, funding to improve our transit system. This program leverages the investment with our federal government, 40%, provincial government, 33%, and municipal government, 27%. In total, Durham should have about $238 million to expand the Highway 2 bus rapid transit in dedicated lanes across Durham and extend rapid transit up Simcoe Street. This project must be completed by 2027. And as councillors, we often hear from citizens about road safety. And last spring, the region launched Vision Zero, an initiative to reduce road fatalities and injuries by 10% over 5 years. Municipalities, police, and drivers can all play a role in reducing collisions. And to support the enforcement, we will install red light cameras at 12 locations and automated speed enforcement at 22 community safety and school zones across the region, including some in Pickering. In 2019, we invested just over $400 million to build and maintain the regional assets and infrastructure now valued at $14.5 billion. Our 2019 capital programs include $183.3 million for sanitary sewers, $114.7 million for water supply, $94.5 million for roads, $5.6 million each for transit and paramedic services. Coordination with our area municipalities is vital, and on many projects and roads are a great example. This year we worked closely with Pickering to rehabilitate surface asphalt on Whites Road between Dunbar Street and Finch Avenue prior to school starting in September. And regional and city staff collaborated on the project to concurrently replace overlapping municipal elements like curbs, gutters, and sidewalks. They also work closely on staging the work to minimize the impacts on residents and businesses. It's great to report that the creation of the regional road, water, and sanitary sewer infrastructure in Seaton is well underway. The first phase of the new Peter Matthews Drive from Taunton southward is being constructed now, and perhaps by 2022, the new Alexander Knox Road will pass just south of the Whitevale from the York-Durham line to east of Brock Road. In December, we will announce the short list of design consultants being considered to build the Whites Road Bridge over the West Dufferins Creek. The high-level bridge, the longest ever constructed by the region, will take several years to design and build, and it will complete the north-south connection on Whites Road from the 401 to the 407. When we construct or update infrastructure, designing to be resilient in the face of climate change is now vital. Sizing bridge spans, culverts, stormwater sewers to manage more frequent severe flooding events is an example. The Durham Community Climate Adaptation Plan assesses our risks, provides the region and area municipalities with a common platform and knowledge base for responding to risks as part of our capital programs. The region and area municipalities and our local energy utilities are also working together to create the Durham Community Energy Plan. This plan charts a path towards our low-carbon future while attracting investment, reducing costs, creating thousands of new jobs. Electrifying transportation is one of our key plans. And to begin moving the yardstick, the region has installed publicly accessed electric vehicle chargers at headquarters. Working with several area municipalities, we've applied for federal funding to install more than 60 EV charging stations across Durham. The success of these plans will depend on all partners to take joint and independent action to reach our climate change goals. Pickering is engaged in both mitigation and adaptation efforts, and at the region we are seeking FCM funding to help us implement a household deep energy retrofit program to reduce emissions and save heating costs for Durham residents. The region is also innovating through partnerships and human services to make a difference in people's lives. And last year we piloted the Primary Care Outreach Program in Oshawa, priority neighborhoods with great results. By teaming up an advanced care paramedic with a social worker, we are taking services to the most vulnerable populations, such as those with addictions or facing homelessness. By reaching out with basic health care and mental health supports, the team builds trust and refers clients to other community supports offered by our partners. Regional Council made the program permanent and region-wide in the 2019 budget. Another good example is the Canada Learning Bonds Initiative. The region is partnering with public libraries and school boards and municipalities and banks to help low-income families receive the $2,000 per child they are entitled to. And this month, at 8 events across the region, families can get help to apply for the bond and set up an RESP to hold the grant. Receiving this grant changes the conversation about post-secondary education. For these families, it changes lives. And unlocking the job creation potential that exists in Durham is a top priority, and over the summer we had productive discussions with area municipal staff about servicing employment lands. We're also moving ahead with the regional broadband strategy and actively seeking a federal decision on the GTA East Airport. Since the federal election, I have been meeting with our MPs. I've met with 5. Budgets are now being shaped by all levels of government. It will take all of us working together to address critical issues like climate change, affordable housing, and transportation. Communication is vital to that effort, and that's why I'm so glad to be here tonight. Time only allows me to cover some highlights, but I'm happy to take any questions.
9 minutes and 30 seconds. Councillor Butt, you have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Mr. Chair Henry, thank you for your presentation here. Question about homelessness, and I know this is not only a Durham issue, but this is a while every municipalities have these issues here, and I believe the waiting time is getting worse now. It's probably between 3 to 8 years now. What plans do we have as in terms to Durham region to overcome these problems?
So first of all, as I mentioned earlier, we have done something that not very many places do with our primary care outreach program, where we're actually taking services to those people in need throughout the entire region. Partnering a paramedic with a social service worker also allows us to bring the existing programs that already exist right to the front line. 2 other things that the Durham region has done that you haven't really heard about, but it is out there, and I'm happy to say the Centre for Community Justice, in partnership with the Durham Legal Aid Clinic, moved in over by our Social Services Centre on John Street, is now partnering paralegals with their services to bring services to the very individuals who could never afford legal help. And the other thing that's really interesting is one of our regional staff, Audrey Andrews, also realized that one of the challenges we have with people in need is they don't do their income tax. There is lots of money in programs available, but you have to do your income tax to qualify for that. So the region has set up the Center for Financial Literacy, helping those folks who qualify for programs in existing dollars to be able to get to where they need to be. And then working with parents and setting up that $2,000 grant in the RESP is something else we're working on. But you're absolutely right. Homelessness is a challenge throughout the entire region, and you cannot talk about homelessness if you're not willing to talk about mental health and opiates. And you need to talk about the other issue that doesn't get that, and that is about dealing with poverty. And that's why the GTA East Airport in Pickering makes so much sense. An airport half the size of the city of Toronto could potentially create 150,000 jobs where you would grow food, support the aerospace industry, move people, goods, and services. And if you look at, there was a health and social service report at the last committee meeting that talked about all these issues. But if you look at communities across this country where the blue-collar jobs have been lost, Windsor, St. Catharines, Sault Ste. Marie, Thunder Bay, Oshawa, Durham region, there is a direct relationship with the loss of those jobs and some of the challenges we're having with the other issues. So let's deal with homelessness, mental health, and opiates. Let's create an economy that's vibrant and jobs that pay a living wage. And if you deal with poverty, you can deal with the other issues.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have another question here in regards to, I think you mentioned that our ridership have increased to 20% in the transportation buses. My question is, I've continuously been asked by residents saying that if our bus shelters were weather permitting, especially during the winter times, the ridership could go even further up. Any plans of improving our bus shelters?
So not so much shelters per se, but what you'll find is throughout the region today, they're pouring more pads at bus stations where the buses stop. And part of the challenges we have with the region of Durham is it's so vast. So in September, our transit department started an on-call bus service in Brock Township, where if you call for a bus 4 hours prior to needing the bus will be there. Ridership up there is up 322%. We're looking at every opportunity to make public transit key, because you can't have high density growth if you don't have public transportation that doesn't work. And I'm happy to say The success on the Pulse route is a shining example of how transit will work from Mary Street in Oshawa all the way to the Scarborough U of T campus. And as we expand the system and we improve it, so shelters will come sometime, pads will be there so they'll be accessible, and it's just something that we need to work collectively on. And one thing we talk about at the Transit Committee executive meetings is about having transit available before the houses, people move into their houses. You cannot play catch up. If transit is there, people will take it.
That's great. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Chair, for coming. You mentioned the new bridge on Whites Road there. There will be bike lanes on this new bridge?
I'm pretty sure that you will make sure that the Works Department knows that there needs to be bike lanes, Councillor McLean.
Okay. I just wanted to throw that out.
Well, it's all part of accessibility. And if you look at the provinces under Places to Grow, active transportation is a key part of the policy statement on Places to Grow.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But, you know, sometimes the province doesn't think the way the region does. And sometimes the province, whether it's a Liberal or Conservative government, does not look at the long-term effects of putting an extra lane or two in on a bridge. Because that's where you want to get the connectivity, especially with Whites Road coming from the north to the south down to the industrial area. But that's a discussion for another day. I just wanted to throw that out to you when you're seeing plans and whatnot. Did you want to make any comment about a potential anaerobic facility in Durham?
Well, members of Regional Council know that almost every landfill site in Ontario will be gone in 10 years, the ones that municipalities use. So the capacity is an issue. And finding a better way to deal with our waste is key. And at the region, we've been very successful. I think not 2 council meetings ago, the example we created right at regional headquarters by showing 1/3 of the plastic bottles that we collect on one day in the region of Durham. So everything that we can do to make the world a better place. But what's exciting is about the talent that you have at the region. So the region of Durham is the only municipality, the only region in Canada that we know of that recycled a landfill site. So if you recycled a landfill, a dump, an old dump, it was in Blackstock, where staff worked with contractors to take that land back to the way it was before there was a landfill site there. And they're now monitoring those lands for 2 years, and then we'll be able to dispose of those lands. But that's amazing because it's such outside of the box thinking. People will recycle landfill sites to create space, but nobody thinks about turning it back to prestige lands. So the staff at the region worked hard. It was a great project. In fact, the byproduct from that is the rubber lids that are on trial in Ajax on the blue bin boxes right now so that papers don't blow around your neighborhood. So you're right. Going forward, an anaerobic digester goes a long way to deal with your green bin waste.
I know you've been a strong supporter of that and championed that several years ago, and I'm glad to see that's happening because it makes sense. We have probably one of the largest old landfills around up in Brock Road here, and I don't know whether Toronto's looking at doing something with that or at least making it a better use than just a big mound that we have up there now, such as Centennial Park in Toronto, which was an old landfill that they now use as a passive green space with
I think they're skiing there.
with skiing and baseball and everything. So it's a great use for that, and that's something else that we could discuss, I'm sure. I know I was a strong supporter, as well as other members of this council, in regards to our energy from waste facility, and the cost of that was about $180 million. And I believe we the region and taxpayers almost have that paid off. Is that correct?
It's very close.
Very close to it. And so that's something I guess that we'll be looking at, what we're going to be doing with those tax dollars that we got to pay off that structure. We have a correspondence coming before council tonight from a Mr. Pierre Ranger, who is the older brother of a young fellow, Adam, who was killed crossing the road getting off a school bus. And he's gathering support for the stop arm cameras on school buses. And this will be coming to our council tonight, and I'm hopeful we're all going to be endorsing, supporting that, and moving it forward. But I think it's a nice segue, and you being on the police service board as well as the chair of the region, I think it might be a nice segue to look at our red light cameras and using this stop arm cameras to identify violators and send that off. So I just threw that out for you to think about that for Wednesday when we have a discussion on it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Pickles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome, Chair Henry, to our chambers once again. You had mentioned you had been meeting with, I believe you said, the MPs across the region. And I wonder if the subject of the, and I may have the name wrong, the aviation needs study that the federal government had undertook, I think KPMG had undertaken that. We understood it was completed prior to the election period, but not released. Have you had any discussions as to when that may be released?
So two parts to that. One is, yes, we've brought it up to the 5 new or re-elected MPs that have met with us. And the other part is the day after the election, we wrote the Prime Minister asking that report be released.
Okay. Did you get any sense of timing
The
from
Prime
them?
Minister, somebody in his office wrote us back and said it went to the Minister of Transportation, and it's with Minister Garneau.
Who's the same minister as prior to the election, has retained a seat. We also have on our agenda this evening correspondence from the region with respect to the provincial policy statement review of proposed policies. In the region's comments, in particular, we note that the province be requested to either release an updated land needs assessment guidance document or confirm the existing one. And we also ask that the province be requested to confirm whether it intends to release updated population and employment forecasts for the Greater Toronto Horseshoe that would allow the region to use a 25-year planning horizon in its municipal comprehensive review. Is that something you've discussed with at any of your meetings with the provincial government and or our MPPs? Do you know?
Not with the MPPs, no.
Okay. So certainly that's something that we've endorsed. I assume it'll be coming up at some further discussions, and we'll encourage them to try and move along with that?
It would help us with our forecasting moving forward in the future, yes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McLean and myself, and I guess all members of council really, have been really keen on the dedicated bus lanes coming along, and not only because that's a good thing, but also it urbanizes our main street, Kingston Road. So it gets us a curb, gets us a sidewalk on the other side. So there's a number of gaps right now. We're waiting for the bus lanes to come along. We'd like to work closely with you to identify which of those are priorities based on getting the urbanized cross-section and sidewalk in, as well as the priority for transit. So that's something hopefully that we can come forward through transit and through yourself and through Works, and I know my colleague beside me can bring that forward as well. But do you see the need to have, from either end of the city, sidewalks on both sides of Kingston Road?
So making it as safe as possible for our residents is key. Data-based decision-making is always key. And of course, you're aware that the municipalities are responsible for sidewalks. So working with our regional staff to make sure what we put in place works. The additional funding that we've applied for will go a long way to helping us finish some of those challenges, including a number of electric hybrid buses, diesel electric hybrid buses.
Yeah, and in Pickering, I think each municipality has its pinch point, but we have the railway bridge going over east of Whites Road, west of Dixie to resolve as well, which is, I think, a big engineering issue. One last thing, Chair Henry. I'm trying to think, it's probably about 15 years ago, we urbanized Altona Road, but only to north of Stroud's. And then it sort of petered back to being an urban cross-section, even though we have Pine Grove and we have Finch really not that far away. And those have been developed quite rapidly. They're very high-density areas. And unfortunately, I pushed at the time to get that Altona urbanized right up to Finch. But in speaking with regional staff, I don't think that missing gap up to Finch is even in our 5 or 10-year horizon yet. So Councillor Budd and myself will be looking at bringing forward a motion to encourage the region to bring that forward in its at least 5-year forecast for roads, because it's not even there yet, and then it would be judged based on merits of other priorities. So just to give you a heads up, we will be bringing that forward. If you get the opportunity and during the day to, I know you've covered the region quite a bit, please have a drive up Altona and Finch and have a look for yourself. The amount of development there and young families that need to get sidewalks to get to the schools and get to commercial areas. And we'll be looking for your support later. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brenner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Through you to Regional Chair. First, I want to thank you and your staff, the way you have received me each and every time that I've been there as an alternate councillor, and treated me not only with respect, but given me the latitude as any other regional councillor. And it's meant a lot to continue to get the job done when filling in. I do have a couple of questions that I'd like to get your feedback on, or for you to take away for some consideration. The first one has to do with shared services. I know that having sat through the strategic planning process, some amazing work was done. It's a lot of dialogue in terms of efficiencies. Now that the province of Ontario has ceased with their review of municipal government, I see opportunities for us as a lower tier municipality in the region of Durham to begin to look at prototyping different types of shared services where we may be able to find efficiencies between what we can do, what the region can do, and be able to maximize services to the benefit of the taxpayer. A good example, and we hear about it all the time, is when we have snow plows from Durham region and a snow plow from the city of Pickering, all following each other, let's say up White's Road. One has blade up, one has blade down. It's crazy. And residents are looking to find out, can we find ways of removing some of the duplication and really begin to have some hard discussions on where we can maximize in good partnership?
So I think I can give you a really great example. It's the relationship that the region and Pickering has on the work going around the casino. And I'm hopeful when I look at staff, I'm thinking that I'd like to say the relationship is probably better than it's ever been before. And under the leadership of our CAO and your CAO and the work of your council and Mayor Ryan, we've gone a long way to stream some of the challenges that we've had in the past. I'm a big believer in continuous improvement, the philosophies behind Sigma and Lean. And I can tell you at the region, that's a topic of conversation almost every day that has gone through our senior leadership group about looking for opportunities to improve how we do business. If a piece of paper needed to get to me today, you should be able just to walk over and hand it to me. It shouldn't have to start there and go through every person in this room before it gets to me. And that's kind of the philosophy behind Lean and Sigma. So right now, I think we have an excellent example of your municipality and the region working well together on a major significant project and a major employer that is coming up, where we look forward to that day in March when it opens. So we can always do better, but part of it has to be a willingness to work together. And I think the environment is very different today than it was a year or 2 years ago.
Thank you. The second question I have, and you talked about the GTAA. One of the things that the city of Pickering had passed a resolution some time back, and I had an opportunity to speak to our MP about very recently, is about the need for a high-speed rail system that would be along the Havelock line up in the North Pickering area. It would take it right into Quebec. We see that as being very viable and something that's badly needed. Both myself and Councillor Butt will be advancing another notice of motion very shortly on that, and would be looking forward to Durham Region playing a driving role to pull together those municipalities right across the north and tie that in, and I know you touched on the Metrolinx, but one of the things that's badly missing with Metrolinx is where it crosses in terms of their transit system, and in particular their rail line into our innovation corridor, which is going to be the place of employment of the future, coming very, very quickly. And regardless of how long the city has to wait for an airport, whatever that time frame is, moving forward on high-speed rail service will not only do a lot for tourism, but also do a lot in terms of the economic benefits for employment for all of us across the region, and in particular in the city of Pickering. Any thoughts on high-speed rail or moving across the northern? I think I probably know the answer, into Quebec.
So yes, and Durham region is one of the fastest growing regions in the country. Durham region also has a lot of available lands for development, unlike areas to the west. And it really is Durham's time. And moving people, especially people in and out of the city effectively and efficiently, is key. But you have to think bigger than that. You know, this isn't, when you talk about that rail line, you're talking about moving people from Peterborough, city of Kawartha Lakes. When you talk about Metrolinx and moving on GO, it's not just, it ends at Clarington, it's the people in Port Hope and Cobourg that rely upon that to get in and out of the city. So in order to continue what we're doing and to meet the growth of this region, effective movement of people and goods makes us a true competitor on the world stage. So yes.
And that's a segue into my final question, and that has to do with the hydro right-of-way system. As you're aware, I mean, we'll have it at our next council meeting. The closure of OPG is slated for 2024. And once that closure takes place, the hydro lines that run currently, the high voltage lines that run from the nuclear generating station run all the way up an interesting corridor system right up into North Pickering. I see an opportunity for some type of a transit system corridor that would be a very rapid transit, very fast transit system in an unused corridor system that could run right north and south, right through the city of Pickering, transit dedicated to get people up to not only into Seaton and beyond Seaton, but into our employment area and into the north very quickly. Because we're talking so quickly, I'm not aware, is Durham looking at alternatives using the hydro right-of-way lands for transit system beyond 2024 in terms of its public transit forecasts?
So up until you just mentioning it, no. But now I'll ask the question tomorrow.
Fantastic. Thank you. And thank you for being here this evening. And thank you very much for your leadership. I've very much enjoyed taking part of it at Durham Region. Looking forward to continuing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We appreciate you coming tonight. We appreciate your continuous strong voice and your advocacy. You are a real champion for some very important issues. And we thank you for coming, and you're welcome in our chamber anytime.
Thank you.
And we'll see you on Wednesday.
I was just going to say, just to remind the regional councillors, there is a regional council meeting, and it is flu shot day. So come with smiles. Thank you.
Thank you. Correspondence. We're going to move to item 6, correspondence. First item is 3619. It's moved by Councillor.
Seconded.
It's moved by Councillor Cummins, second by Councillor McLean. Councillor Butt, you had a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want a clarification in regards to this cameras being installed. Who are going to be operating these cameras here? Is this going to be the police directly, or is this going to be through the bus companies themselves?
Mr. Bajoni?
It's my understanding that it will be the bus companies themselves.
Will there not be a conflict in terms of the bus service or the companies in terms of privately handling issues with regards to the police issues, though?
I'm going to have to look into that issue for you, certainly, and can do so before our next executive committee meeting. I'm not aware of a conflict issue having been identified.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor McLean?
I think Thank you, Mr. Chair. And over the weekend, I called Mr. Pierre Ranger, who sent us this letter about the Stop Arm Camera Project, which I think is a super project. We've all seen cars whiz by school buses when the arm's up without even slowing down. And it drives me and other members of this council. We've brought it up to the police who've launched a targeted enforcement on this type of violation. But I called Mr. Ranger and wanted to get a little bit more information from him as to where he is with this particular project. And he's the older brother of young Adam who was killed, and so he's taken this project up and he's starting to get some traction. For example, Ottawa has several cameras on their school buses, and they've linked it in, from what I believe, and I'm sure Mr. Bajoni will check that further, into their red light camera system. So if a violator goes through, the camera is reviewed by the police, make sure the pictures are clear and accurate, and then it's sent on for enforcement or notification purposes to the perpetrator. And it's the same as a photo radar or red light camera. The owner of the vehicle gets the ticket, and if I, as an owner of a vehicle, got a notification that my son or somebody driving my car was not driving it properly, I'd want to be notified. So with this particular motion, we're asking to endorse it and send it off to the Ministry of Transportation, Ministry of Education, Association of Municipalities of Ontario, Durham District School Board, Durham Catholic School Board, the French School Board, Durham Regional Police, and all regional municipalities for their consideration. I'd like to add it sent to Durham Region itself, because I think at Durham Region, we could certainly take this issue up and champion and pony on to the red light camera issue that we have. I don't have any costs for these cameras. I think Ottawa spent like $120,000, but I don't know how many cameras they've got. I had a call in for the staff sergeant who's running that program, but we weren't able to connect today on that. So I think it's a great initiative that's taken hold. Mississauga, I think, is doing it. Hamilton's looking at it. Durham as leaders, I think we should probably certainly investigate it and probably move forward on. So I'm certainly going to support this, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So we'll add Region of Durham as a friendly amendment for our circulation. There's a motion duly moved and seconded to endorse the correspondence. There's no further debate. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That item is carried.
Mr. Chair, I'll move 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4 as recommended,
Okay.
which includes receive and review.
Okay, that's correspondence 37, 38, and 39. It's moved by Councillor Pickles, second by Councillor McLean, to receive the information from regional staff and to direct CAO to update us in regards to those action items, including on correspondence number 39, where a report is requested for our next council meeting, and I'm told that we'll be able to meet that timeline. Questions, comments, debate? Do we want to pull any? Being none, I'm going to call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That item is carried. Correspondence 4019. Moved by Councillor Brenner and seconded by, I think it was Councillor Cumming. Councillor Butt. In regards to Sunday service at George Ash Library. When I first read this, I was looking at, we were looking to have Sunday service meeting church at, in my dad's name at the library. So what this means is pre-budget approval to authorize $35,000 of 2020 budgets to allow Sunday opening of our library at George Ash Library effective January 1st. Councillor Brenner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. This is before us tonight because it's something that came from the community. It was a matter of fact that we had a referral to the Pickering Public Library Board from the Mayor's office as well. And to be honest, it just seems like a no-brainer. Initially, it was to go through the budget process. But our budget process, as members are aware, will not kick in until probably February, which means we wouldn't really be able to implement until the beginning of second quarter. This is something we really need to get on with now. We'd like to be able to get the staffing complement in place, get the service level in place beginning January. That library is used on a regular basis, and the residents are asking to have that access. The other important piece is that with the impending construction that's taking place and different disruptions that will be taking place in the downtown center, it also makes sense to encourage people on Sunday that normally would be coming over to Central Branch to start using another branch, being our branch at the George Ashe Public Library, because it's not only more accessible during construction, but it's closer to a number of people that reside in the city of Pickering. Finally, had an opportunity to speak to the Director for Culture and Recreation, and tied to the library being open, and I'll ask the Director, maybe she can explain how it benefits in terms of the program area that she has with the building that is no longer going to be closed up on a Sunday.
Ms. Carpino?
To date, Sunday at George Ashe is only open to private rentals, and so the opportunity to open it to the community on Sunday at the library also enables the program side in culture and recreation and community services to equally introduce programs in need for the members of the community that reside in that area.
And that's something that you feel would be pretty easy to be able to accommodate as that building becomes available.
It's certainly a very busy facility located on the western end of our community, for which there is no alternate location. So we do see that there is a need in the community.
Thank you. So basically, we feel the need is there. The need was generated, as I said, from the community, and there was a request that came to us through the mayor's office, and we feel that with council's support, we can move forward in a very positive way, and I'll ask for a recorded vote. Thank you.
Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly do support this initiative. I think it's going to add value to the library and to the residents. My only thought, I was going to ask about a friendly amendment to do it for 1 year, just to evaluate how successful it was, and then. Okay, so I'll just do a friendly amendment to say that to be evaluated in 1 year time. And
perhaps that maybe that the public library would report back 1 year prior to the 2021 budget with supporting statistics regarding its usage. I think that'd be better for the library board to do that. Yes, great. Thanks very much, Mr. Chair.
Do I have a seconder for the amendment? Second. Okay, there's a motion duly moved and seconded by Councillor McLean, seconded by Councillor Butt, to add a whereas that the 2000, this be introduced on a pilot basis for 2020, and a report be provided to the Pickering Public Library Board for its continuance in the budget 2021. Is that an understanding? Yeah. Any questions or debate on the amendment? All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Any further debate on the main motion? Recorded vote called by Councillor Brenner.
Councillor Brenner.
Yes.
Councillor Butt.
Yes.
Councillor Cumming.
Yes.
Councillor McLean.
Yes.
Councillor Pickles.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ashe.
Yes.
That vote carries unanimous.
Motion's carried.
I'll give you a motion to endorse the executive committee report and the planning report.
Seconded.
Moved by Councillor Pickles and seconded by Councillor Brenner to consent agreement of executive and planning. Any items be pulled? Being none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That item is carried. Page 147, new and unfinished business. Director of Community Services, emergency repairs in regards to a water main.
Move it.
Section 9.1 is moved by Councillor Pickles and seconded by Councillor Cumming. Questions? Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And question to the acting CEO or Richard. How are you making out with the region, getting them to pay some of this for the delay in getting this repaired?
Ms. Carpino.
It actually is a repair that was conducted under the Community Services Department because it occurred on the property of the Chestnut Hill Developments Recreation Complex. And to date, the city CAO has reached out to the region CAO to request those offsetting costs in and around $20,000. And a determination has not yet been made, but the CAO is hopeful to hear back.
So there's a discussion going on. That's good. Thank you.
Any other questions? It's duly moved by Councillor Pickles, second by Councillor Cumming. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That item is carried. Next item is 9.2, Pickering Town Centre Memorandum of Understanding, the license agreement, authored by Director of Community Services, page 152.
Move it.
It's moved by Councillor McLean, second by Councillor Butt. Questions? Being none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That item is carried.
Move 9.3, which is the Brock Road sidewalk.
It's moved by Councillor Pickles, second by Councillor Putt, in regards to approval of the recommendation on page 167 in regards to Brock Road new sidewalk on the west side of Brock, north of Finch Avenue. I'll be using this. Walking to the mosque or the dog. Councillor Pickles.
Thank you. I'm glad you pointed that out, Deputy Mayor. So the issue is that people can cross on the bridge, but the bridge on the north end isn't connected to the new piece of sidewalk just south of the mosque. And what happened recently is somebody, and perhaps it was the region, cleared the bridge. But in clearing the bridge, they just created a snow pile on the other side. And because there's no sidewalk gap, people actually had to walk into oncoming traffic on Brock Road to get on to the bridge. So it's a very, very dearly needed project. And even though it's a little piece of sidewalk, it's going to make a big difference to connecting the community there. My only question on the item, Mr. Chair, is in timing. So we're almost at the end of November. It's getting cold, but it's getting warm again. Are we going to be able to complete this project now, or is it something that's going to have to be carried over to the spring?
Through the chair to Councillor Pickles, although this tender was awarded in time to get constructed in November, two things were against us. One was the weather, and the other was the fact that the financing had to be approved through council because of the account that we're using that was already exceeded in its expenditures. So what we're doing here, if approved by council tonight, we will be able to issue a purchase order to the low bidder, and they have told us that they will honor these prices for 2020, and as soon as the weather breaks in 2020, they'll be out there to do this. We also have a fire hydrant to be relocated, which will be done by Durham Region themselves, so we'll be able to get that done in advance, and this should be ready for use in summer of 2020.
I kind of thought that might be the answer. But so the bad news is it's got to wait till next year. The good news is because it's approved now, we can get it underway as soon as the weather is good, as opposed to having to wait for budget approval next year and then going through the tender process for many projects, which often results in them being done later in the year. So we'll get out ahead of other projects as soon as the weather permits.
That is correct.
Thank you.
It's duly moved by Councillor Pickles, second by Councillor Butt. If there's no other questions, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That item's carried. Next item is 9.4, page 176. It's in regards to assessing and enhancing corporate waste diversion, a sole source contract. It was moved by Councillor Butt, I believe, seconded by Councillor Pickles. Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, Councillor Pickles. Okay, I didn't see that. It's moved by Councillor Butt and second by Councillor Pickles. Questions? Councillor Cumming.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Question back to staff. Could you explain to me why this is being sole sourced?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Cumming. Just to backtrack a little bit, this is further to a council resolution that was passed earlier this year in April of 2019, and that resolution was requiring a number of actions by staff, one of which was to look at our waste diversion practices, among other things. We undertook an internal audit over the course of the summer and came up with some findings in early October of this year that there is a need to replace and provide new waste receptacles throughout a vast majority of city facilities. So we did investigate styles and pricing, and we also engaged with operations staff to make sure that their needs are being addressed from a health and safety perspective. Through our due diligence to look at a number of different companies and products offered, we came to the conclusion that this one company, Clean River Recycling Solutions, offers a bin at an appropriate price point that meets the needs of health and safety for staff. And under the circumstances of timing and recognizing this motion was passed, the resolution after budget was approved for this year, we did engage finance to see, and we found an opportunity that there were funds available in the contingency account to pay for this, providing that council's willing and prepared to approve it tonight, that we would move right away on a purchase order and secure these bins before the end of this year. So we'd be using 2019 dollars and not 2020. So under the circumstances and the timing that we had to look into this, this is what we found to be the best option at this point in time.
Further? Councillor Butt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question to the city staff. Firstly, I want to compliment in terms of looking into the waste management, and I think it's much needed. I think every municipality now is moving in terms of concerns about waste management, and I think this is probably the right area to move in further. I just want to ask now, what is next? How do we put this into implementations?
If council decides to approve this, we will proceed right away with a purchase order. We will secure the necessary bins before the end of this year. We would be commencing with installation of these things right away in 2020. We'll also be looking at reviewing our best practices for waste diversion, training staff who would be using these to maintain these units, and also a broader campaign to raise awareness for waste diversion with other staff within the corporation, and we would go from there one step at a time.
Do we carry this message out to communities and schools in order to talk about waste management?
So the first step would be to in-house get our procedures and protocols refreshed for today, and get staff up to speed with that. The next step, we're more than happy to canvass and survey businesses within Pickering to identify what their challenges are with waste diversion and get some information next year. Happy to explore other options as we proceed through that, but we wanted to make sure that we were moving forward first in a positive direction with consistent best practices.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Cumming, you had a second question.
Yes. Is this the same manufacturer that is producing the bins at present? Are we continuing on with the same individual? Yes?
Yes. And as well, in addition, this company does serve other municipalities in the GTA, including Durham municipalities as well. So they're a known company within the GTA.
I see a lot of these bins burst open, garbage piled up beside them because it can't get in the narrow opening, doors broken open. I understand your answer, why it was single-sourced. I'm just not sure that, given what I see out there, that was the most prudent way to do it. And just a comment from me. Thank you.
Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Is there an opportunity to recover some money through advertising on these bins, receptacles?
Given the time that we've had to pursue this, we have not looked into advertising at this point in time, but that's something that's we'll definitely take under consideration and see if that's a possibility.
Okay. I wish I had seen a picture on here with that, but that's for future. But yeah, let me know, or let us know if there's an opportunity to recover some funds through advertising. Because the majority of them these ones are just going to be in our facilities, are they not? They're not going to be out in the corner.
The intention is to locate these receptacles. There would be different types depending on where they'd be deployed. And between facilities, they all have different needs. And just to provide some clarification to a previous question that was asked, we did engage with maintenance facility staff to understand what their challenges have been in using the bins. And our understanding is with these bins, they're next gen. They offer different functionality to them than the ones that we currently have in use to enable ease of maintenance, to avoid unnecessary spills within the units themselves. There's a modular, convenient approach to these things as well. Apologize for not providing some pictures, but we believe the next-gen bins that we're looking at are the most appropriate ones that address health and safety needs for staff in their operation and maintenance, and also having good SOPs, practices for staff to make use of will improve how these will be used ultimately.
Thank you.
Okay, it's duly moved by Councillor Butt, and seconded by Councillor Pickles. If there's no other questions, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That item is carried. Notice as a motion. We have one for consideration tonight, and I understand we're going to have notice of two others. So there's a motion 10.1 moved by Councillor Brenner and seconded by Councillor Pickles, and it reads as follows.
Mr. Chair, would you like a dispensing motion?
I never thought you'd think of that. A motion to dispense with the whereases, moved by Councillor Pickles and seconded by Councillor Brenner. All those in favor? Opposed? That item is carried. The thereas are therefore it be resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the City of Pickering supports the vision and community planning principles for the land of Northeast Pickering known as Varane, and reaffirms its request that the region of Durham include these lands in the settlement area boundary during its current municipal comprehensive review. 2, that city staff be directed to report back to committee in Q1 2020 outlining a process to initiate a secondary plan for the new community of Varane based on the community planning principles in Appendix 1 attached to this motion, which is on page 180 of your agenda. 3, city staff be directed through the CIO's office to discuss with the landers an arrangement for the dedicated team that will work on the Varane file without impacting other priorities of the City of Pickering. And 4, that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the region of Durham. The mover, Councillor Brenner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. As Council is aware, at our last Planning Development Committee meeting, we had an excellent presentation on Varane. Had the opportunity to watch it with the sound on the link that was provided, but more importantly, having watched it, I also took the opportunity to do a little bit of research regarding some of the creative abilities that Varane would bring to our city of Pickering in terms of housing form, styles, affordability, and a whole new kind of master plan. I had the opportunity to look at things in the Netherlands as an example, available online through Googling, to realize that what we're really talking about is doing it right in the future. When I say that, it's because we're all aware that currently we are building out Seaton with a potential population of anywhere upwards of between 60 and 70,000, but something was missing in Seaton. Seaton's an okay place to live, and we have a lot of great people moving into it. But is it the ideal community in terms of environmental controls? No, it isn't. Is it the ideal community in terms of linkages, transportation, looking ahead in terms of creativity, in terms of how to protect the environment, and as relates to climate change? No, it isn't. Seaton, as Council is aware, was dictated by the province of Ontario over a period of time, and the planning ability was taken away from this municipality. Varane is something different. Varane is a look at the future where we can, in fact, make sure that we're addressing something that is badly needed in our city today, and that's affordability and a city community that would be able to withstand climate change in terms of flooding, in terms of stormwater management, in terms of being able to use green space to its fullest while incorporating it into a community. This isn't something that we're going to see in 2020 or 2021 or 2022. It's a plan that's going to take us well beyond 2031 into 2041. And it's something that has to start today. We've watched on the news how tourist areas such as Venice has had its worst flooding in its history in the last 50 years. I'm certainly not comparing the city of Pickering to Venice, nor the moraine lands in Northeast Pickering. But the risks associated to poor planning and not having the ability to plan with a different way, different creativity, puts our future community and future generations at risk. We all saw the presentation. We're not approving changes tonight. We're not approving official plan changes. What we are is starting a journey that will take many, many years to be able to do the things that our future generations need to have done. When I talk about affordability in housing forms, we're talking about a different kind of housing. We're talking about housing that's not 30, 40, 50 stories in the sky. We have intensification in downtown Pickering. We're talking about housing that provides the opportunity to be accessible. Bungalows that have the opportunity to be made available to seniors that are trying to retire and look for places where they can still have green space. A generation by 2031 that has our population already building out to well over 100, and I believe it's well over 130, 140,000 people within our own city, making sure that their children don't face the challenges of the children of today that they are facing, where they have to move away because there is no affordability. Or age-friendly, where seniors today are forced to stay in big homes with big lots because they're not ready to go into homes in the sky. And I don't mean heaven neither. I'm talking about high-rise development. People need options and they need choices. So I look for support tonight of all members of council, and I will be asking for a recorded vote as we vote towards building a future community that will take us well beyond 2041. Thank you, Mr. Deputy.
Councillor Pickles.
Thank you, Chair Ash. I'm going to try not to repeat some of the items that Councillor Brenner mentioned, but I think it's important to note what we're trying to ensure here is that a better process and better planning leads to a better result, and that is a better community development. And Councillor Brenner mentioned Seaton, so I was thinking about that for a second. That was a very convoluted process, and I don't think we got, at the end of the day, the best community that we could have got. It started out with expropriation. It went through a land exchange. It went through Ontario Municipal Board hearings, and all of that took nearly 50 years. I think we're nearly 50 years later, and we got the community we got. I think there's certainly some lessons to be learned through the development of that community, but lessons, as Councillor Brenner has noted, across the province, across the country, and in fact, throughout the world. And there's innovations out there with respect to stormwater management, age-friendly communities, active transportation, transit, that we can work into the development of this community. So again, what we're seeking here is a better process, better planning that results in a better community down the road. So I'll certainly be supporting the motion this evening. Thank you.
Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I was never a big, strong supporter of the development up in Northeast Pickering where this this land is located for a variety of reasons. But Councillor Cummings and Butt and I met with the applicants and the owners and world leaders in visionary communities and building healthy communities. And when the presentation was given to us and these world specialists, they were totally amazed at the potential for this particular community. And it's something that in Europe that they're looking at and trying to duplicate in a lot of the European communities. So, you know, when we look at Seton, and there's no secret that the province drove that development and created what we have today with very little input from the city, and we have what we have now. And I'm not going to try to put lipstick on that, but you know, I think that's not the best type of development that we could have that's going to enhance our city. But this particular development, from what we saw a couple weeks ago, you know, this is very futuristic, realistic, and something that's going to be beneficial to our residents and our city, and make us all that much prouder. And not only counting when we talk about the Crothers Creek and the headwaters and all that, how that's going to be addressed by this development is going to make those headwaters that much more safer, cleaner, and better for the communities south of this development. So I certainly support the motion. I certainly support the development, and 2031, I might be able to relocate by then. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Cumming.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I will also be supporting the motion. Excuse me. I was very impressed with what I saw, and very impressed with the reaction of the European community that had looked at this as well. I think it's exciting. And it's much more than just a name we've given a place. It's all the thought that's gone in behind it. I sit on another committee with Councillor Brenner, and we had something came before us the other day referring to Setonville. And with reference to that, you just can't give a place a swanky name and have it work. Obviously, the work has gone into this long before the name came up, so I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a motion duly moved by Councillor Brenner, second by Councillor Pickles, and a recorded vote has been requested by Councillor Brenner.
Councillor Brenner.
Yes.
Councillor Butt.
Yes.
Councillor Cumming.
Yes.
Councillor McLean.
Yes.
Councillor Pickles.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ash.
Yes.
That vote carries unanimous.
Thank you. I'm going to
Move the bylaws?
I'm going to let the notices of motion be introduced. Councillor Brenner, you have two notices.
And they are for December and for January. And one notice of motion is regarding the decommissioning of the Pickering Nuclear Generating Station. I'll provide the words, and that is moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ash, and that will be at the December council meeting. The second one is a notice of motion to be heard in January, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Pickles, and that will be regarding textile recycling partnership with Diabetes Canada and York University, and that will be in our January meeting along with a presentation by York University and Diabetes Canada.
Thank you. Bylaws. Sorry, moved by Councillor Cumming, second by Councillor Pickles. Any to be pulled? Being none, all those in favor? Opposed? That item is carried. Other business. Councillor Pickles.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I had noted earlier that myself and Councillor Butt will be bringing forward a motion likely at the December council meeting with respect to advancing the urbanization of Altona Road up to Finch Avenue.
Okay, so that notice is duly noted. Any other business? Councillor Brenner.
Thank you. Just picking up on the earlier presentation, and I think it was a question from Councillor Butt regarding homelessness. And this is an initiative that Councillor Butt will be working on with myself to be approaching the Pickering Public Library staff to introduce as one of their current event initiatives a community discussion forum on current events that is going to focus on homelessness in the city of Pickering. And I want to thank Councillor Butt for agreeing to work with me and with Councillor Cumming on that initiative. Councillor Cumming and myself are both board members, and with your input and your background, this is going to be an exciting current event series. Thank you.
Councillor Pickles.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to raise to our acting CAO that Councillor Butt and I have continued to receive complaints from industrial activities on the east side of Notion Road, which is in the town of Ajax. So this is something that's been going on a number of years. It has to do with particularly the rock crushing exercise, hours of operation, dust and noise. We've brought this to the attention of the then Minister of the Environment, Rod Phillips, MPP, although he's now the Finance Minister. But it's in the town of Ajax. It's regulated by the Ministry of the Environment, so we ourselves have very little power, although we have brought a motion forward. We have met with residents. We have met with the Minister of Environment. So I just want to bring this to the attention of the acting CEO with perhaps we can follow up with the Ministry of the Environment and the town of Ajax on residents' behalf. It's a little frustrating because we're not in that decision-making regulatory role, but we still need to advance those concerns of the residents.
Through the chair, certainly happy to do that. We've investigated this issue numerous occasions in the past, but if the problem persists and our residents are continuing to deal with noise and dust and vibration issues, we will go back to the well.
Thank you.
Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just wanted to bring up about the region's backflow and prevention and water exiting initiative, where commercial units are getting letters from the region to call in a plumber, and a list of plumbers is given, and the plumber comes in to investigate whether or not the particular place needs a backflow device. Fine and dandy. I think it's a great initiative that the region's doing to keep the waters clean and prevent stuff from getting into our water system. Now, in that process, a building permit has to be applied for at the city if the work has to be done. Fair enough. But also, if you could check into it, and it's my understanding that the region sends somebody out to ensure that the work is done properly. And I'm more or less concerned that this might be a duplication of service. If the region's sending out professionals to ensure that the work is done properly, just like what we're doing, sending out our inspectors to make sure the work is done properly. I'm a little confused as to why we're having two separate units going to one particular house. And the fact that, and I'm not sure, I don't think the region charges to go and investigate to make sure it's been done correctly, but we charge like $140 for a permit. So the business owner's getting hit for $150, $160 to get it surveyed. And then the work is anywhere from $400 to $900 depending on how complicated it is. And then, but my concern is that the region's checking and we're checking. I'll follow up with the region, but if you could just sort of let me know if you have any comments on that.
Just to add to what you've been saying, Councillor McLean, I meet with the Durham CBOs every 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and it's on our agenda to discuss this very matter in December, to see if we can establish a commonality across all the Durham municipalities to make sure we're looking at this the exact same way, and certainly part of that discussion will include the Region of Durham staff that are part of this program as well.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to make you aware of it. I'm going to check with the region tomorrow, the works, to see what they do. And if they're doing the same thing that we're doing as a building inspection, I think that's kind of unfair for the resident to have to pay an extra $150 for a building permit when it's already in the system with the Durham region. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Before we move to confirming bylaw and adjournment, I want to acknowledge the Santa Claus parade that we celebrated on Saturday. Our float was fantastic. I was in charge of the bubbles.
And the smoke.
And the smoke. They left me the operating procedures. But I think it was the largest crowd I've seen since I've been on council. I think it had something to do with the fantastic weather we had. So to the staff members that were responsible for A, our float, and B, the good weather, that Mr. Bajoni would probably take credit for the weather. But it was an excellent event, and really the kickoff to our Christmas season, which happens again this week on Friday, is our tree lighting and our first ever Christmas market, which runs Friday and Saturday. So I'm sure we'll have thousands of people in our Esplanade Park over the course of the weekend. So we're looking forward to that. And hopefully Mr. Bajoni will look after the good weather again this weekend. So confirming bylaw.
Move it.
Moved by Councillor. Moved by Councillor Brenner, second by Councillor McLean. All those in favor? Opposed? And before we adjourn, I just want to note for the record, we had one friendly amendment, one amended motion, and no challenges to the chair, which I thank you all for. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Butt, second by Councillor Cumming. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We're adjourned.
Whatsoever in that part of it. And always remember your witnesses, what they're actually witnessing to and they're attesting to is the fact that you willingly, under your own steam, without outside influence, no coercion, etc., or duress, you sign the documents before them. They are not speaking to the contents of the document. They only speak to the fact that you did it of your own free will. And it was you that signed it.
Now, this question I'm going to ask you, it's going to be loaded in a couple different ways, and I apologize, and hopefully you can answer it all together. These documents, for especially seniors as we're getting older, and if that's where the show is geared to, and that's what we're talking about, is I can understand that we live on fixed incomes, and there's sometimes a fear about doing things. The documents that we're talking about today, is there a cost involved to getting these documents?
No.
Okay. Second of all, when we do these documents, and I know sometimes there's always been the thought that we need to always have legal representation, whether it be a solicitor or a lawyer of some sort. Do these documents require that they have to pass through a legal office?
Not at all. You can do it right before you on your kitchen table. It can be in any format. It can be on any piece of paper you wish. Do keep in mind, though, that it's very, very important that your witnesses actually attest to what's being done in front of them. So if you're going to make it hand-drawn, be careful of it. If it's done by hand on a will, it's called holographic will, by the way. Otherwise, if it's typed up, make sure that there are no handwritten changes to it, unless, again, it's witnessed to at the time. You cannot change it later. But what happens, they bringing a lawyer into the case, and the average price is around $600. But that does vary. It's not so important, if you would, from a power attorney perspective, but it does become important when it comes to will if you have a large estate. And the bigger your estate, the more potential of complications involved in it. You want to reduce the challenges. The first way to reduce is do it before a lawyer, because they have a number of checks and balances they are professionally required to follow. So in that sense, it will save you the money. doing your power of attorney document, maybe spend it on efforts on your will.
Okay.
And if you're looking to look after particular children, again, with seniors, it's not necessarily the children under the age of 18, but if you're looking after your grandchildren and you're looking to create a trust for them, you definitely want to go before a lawyer, because there's a whole bunch of things that must be followed and steps that have to be taken to make sure that that is done. So these documents become extremely important. And what a lot of people will do, unfortunately, a power of attorney document, as with the last will and testament, the moment it is signed and witnessed, it becomes what's called a bearer instrument. It's a legal document. The last thing you want it out there is in circulation. Nobody has to know what your will says. That's your personal information. The only time it comes to a will is the attorney needs to know if you've got actual bequests in that will, i.e. you have a sports memorabilia collection and you want it to go to a particular grandson. They must protect that. Other than that, they don't need to see the document, nor does anybody need to see your power of attorney if you're of capable mind. Keep it to yourself. Protect it. And a lot of people say, where's the best place to put that? They think of safety deposit boxes. It is a good place, but always remember that if you become incapable of getting to the safety deposit box, or once you pass, who has access to that box? If you have not put that individual on that, having legal access to the box, they're not getting in. Very problematic. So when it comes to cost savings as well, because the safety deposit box will cost you, a simple thing is take your document, okay, and it can be your document of anything. I'll just use this document. Grab a simple envelope. It's not a magic trick. You're going to put that in there. Remember that you're going to have a document produced, a copy with original signature for each individual named, for your attorneys, and one for yourself. But they don't need it. I don't like that part. Personalize the envelope in whatever works for you. I always like just doing a smiling face. I'm not an artist. If this was my power of attorney and my attorney's name was John, I might want to put the word John on the front page, and then just take your simple tape. This stuff, you're going to have probably lots of it over the next little while, because it is the season coming. So, simple matter of taking the tape, and what you would do with your tape, of course, is you can use, guys that like duct tape, you could use that if you so wanted. But what you're doing with the tape is you're going to protect and seal it up. The idea behind that is every time you look at this envelope now, every time you see it, no matter where it is in your home that you put it, again, it doesn't have to be in a safety deposit box. Okay? If I had the time, I'd tape the whole thing. But every time I look at that, I know that it's been untouched. I know that it is safe. I can put that beside my nightstand if I wished. I could keep it at my coffee table. I would suggest put it in your files somewhere. And what you do is you let John know that in the event of, this is where you're going to find my document. Keep it out of their hands. You are a capable mind right now. This is anticipation of the future. Well, wait till the future gets there.
Okay.
People set themselves up for destruction here, unfortunately.
So, because we're going to be coming to the end of our show here, when should people start preparing for a will? And what is there any type of template that people should use, or is there a certain one that a generic one they can go and get? And how often should I be looking at updating my will?
When? As soon as you turn 18 in the province of Ontario, you should have a will, last will and testament, as well as power of attorney. You have no idea what's coming over the hill tomorrow, and taking that time now. Any change in your life, in the sense of you get married, your will no longer exists, by the way, as soon as you say I do, previous will is now null and void, you will need one to protect your spouse. The moment you have children, you will need a new one to protect your children, or later in life. So it's always good at the age of 18 and beyond. Power of attorney documents, always important to have them. And that's why I say don't put them in circulation. They're your documents. You change it at a later date, the new document destroys the previous one, invokes the previous one. But if it's floating around, it's a problem. As long as you've got it in your control, you can destroy it, put it in the shredder, and it's not out there doing its thing. And always be cognizant of what you wrote 10 years ago. Times have changed. Your investments might have changed. Financial interests have changed. Your wishes may have changed. Maybe you're no longer wishing to bequeath certain things to individuals. So you want to change that. Or now you want to add something different. So very, very important that you be prepared to do these changes as you go.
Okay.
You can find them on the website anywhere in the internet. I would never recommend that you would use an internet-based template where you fill in and it prints out the document. If you go to the Ministry of Solicitor General for the Province of Ontario, it will give you power attorney documents and a kit. Not so liking those, but it gives you something to start with.
Okay. So viewers, again, as you can see, there was a lot of information to get through today. Because our show is airing the month of November here, I want to just say a couple of things before we go. As police officers, our families and our friends know the sacrifices that we make throughout our careers. But what's most important is we need to remember in this month of November and beyond the sacrifices that our Canadians have made to make sure that we get up every day enjoying the rights and freedoms that we have as Canadians. I also want to take a minute today to acknowledge my friend here, fellow police officer, Detective Constable Martin Franson. Martin has done 2 tours serving our country and representing our police service, once in Jordan and once in Afghanistan. So Martin, on behalf of myself, a fellow police officer, a brother, and a community member, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your dual sacrifices that you've done, not just for our country and our community. Again, we're very grateful to have you on our show today. And to all those families out there that may have lost a loved one serving our country, again, our hearts go out to you. Thank you very much. And to our viewers, stay happy, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
This will change the world.
What? There's a family in our driveway.
Wake up!
So you feeling what I'm feeling?
Yes! Now is the time to choose a side.
I mean, it's all right to express your emotions.
I never thought I'd know that feeling. To be in love. Because for us, it was a crime. Someone had to respond to the tabloids. So I wrote letters, challenging every misconception of homosexuality. 9 homes, 7 dogs, 47 years together, and still not spouses under the law. So we took our fight to the Supreme Court.
Jim Egan and Jack Nesbitt await a verdict on their fight for spousal rights.
Hello. We lost our case, but we made a difference.
As a result of Jim Egan's case, the Supreme Court ruled that sexual orientation is protected under the Charter of Rights, a landmark victory for the LGBTQ2 community.
This is Rogers TV, Durham Region.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like bundling your cardboard separately. These bundles can act as a lid for your blue box or placing heavier items such as magazines on top of papers with no material above the rim.
Welcome to What's on Durham. I'm your host, Anna Hook, and if you're looking for family-friendly things to do in December, then you've come to the right place. We have a great group of guests ready to share their kid-friendly events and activities, plus we'll catch up on location with this month's Kid Fun experts, Isabel, Kurt, and Hannah. So sit back and relax as we share everything you need to know to keep your family busy this December. My first guest wants you to fast forward through the holiday season and start planning New Year's Eve. Here's Laura and Tomasi from the city of Oshawa. thank you for coming in today.
No problem, Anna. Thanks for having me.
I love that you're here because we're going to skip over Christmas. We're going to start at the end, and we're going to move our way back with this show today. So we're going to talk about New Year's Eve in the city of Oshawa. So tell me about the event.
So the event is officially called the Oshawa Celebrates.
Okay.
It's happening at Dell Park Home Center.
Okay.
Formerly Legends.
Right.
And the doors open at 5:45. The event officially is from 6 to 9 p.m.
Okay, so this is our family event.
Yes.
So if you're looking for a family-friendly thing to do on New Year's Eve, which is kind of hard to find sometimes, this would definitely be something that families would want to look up. So how much does this event cost?
The event is free of charge.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you, I imagine it's quite popular.
In the past, we've had approximately 5,000 people show up to this event throughout the 3 hours. Yeah.
Wow. So is it tickets? How do you get into this event?
It's the doors open at 5:45.
Okay.
There are wristbands because we have free swimming. So there's 2 different swim times.
Okay.
We have free skating, which is wristbanded because there's a capacity for each skate. So I believe there's 6 skates. And then the rest is kind of wander around. It isn't ticketed or anything like that.
Oh, okay. So if you wanted to get a wristband, would you encourage families to line up beforehand, maybe come a little bit early, not exactly at the dot of 5:45?
It depends on the weather. Like the doors open at 5:45. We usually are not sold out like as soon as the doors open.
Okay.
So for the skates, we have different tables set in front of the ice pads,
Okay.
and then that's where you'd get your skating wristband.
Okay.
And then for the swim, you'd get them in front of the swim, in front of the main reception by the swimming pool.
So if you wanted to do swimming, obviously you're going to bring all the stuff you need to swim, and the rules still apply, right? The regular pool rules with admission. So you need to do a swim test if you're a certain age.
Yep, the ratios still apply.
Right.
Everything is still the same. It's just you don't have to pay.
Okay, and the same thing for skating with helmets. Like if you're going to bring your children to skate, they should bring their own equipment.
Yes, yeah. We the CSA helmets are recommended.
Okay,
yeah, for sure.
Is it mandatory for children of a certain age?
It isn't mandatory, but I would highly recommend.
Okay,
yeah,
excellent. So tell me then about so we talked about skating, we've talked about swimming. What does the rest of it look like?
So basically every room is utilized at Dell Park. So in the gym, there's usually children's crafts for a variety of different ages.
Okay.
We have Zoo to You coming, so you can check out different animals.
Yes.
We have a stage as well, so Sopper Creek is going to be there, interactive entertainment, so they'll get you up and moving.
Okay.
Inside the arena on pad 2, we have ice decking, so that's where the main stage is.
Oh, wow.
And then we have inflatables that are there so people can, children can enjoy those. Sorry, parents. Sorry, parents. But the lineups for the children.
Okay.
Yeah, and so there's a whole bunch of different things to do. There's concessions, there's free hot chocolate while the supplies last. Yeah, so the library also has a magician that is ticketed, and it does sell out fast.
Okay.
But yeah, this year we're going to have a magician kind of wandering as well to work the crowd for smaller, more intimate setting kind of thing.
Oh, that sounds so fun. So it sounds like there's a little bit of everything, like tons of entertainment.
Yes.
You know, you can do the athletic stuff, but then you can go and do some crafts. You can see the animals. That's amazing. I love that.
It's always very popular.
Right.
Yeah.
So if people were interested in the magician that's in the library, they should go to the library, Oshawa Public Library website.
Yeah, so you'd get the tickets at the day of when the doors open, but it is limited. So they do offer 3 shows, but their venue is small. So
I got it.
Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to? We've only got about 30 seconds. What are you most looking forward to?
Just to celebrate an amazing year. Like it's crazy to see how quickly a year goes. And then it's awesome to have all those Oshawa residents and outside residents come and celebrate the kickoff of the new year.
Absolutely.
The balloon drop at the end of the event is also pretty popular. Lots of kids are jumping and enjoying their celebration.
Oh, that's so fun. So everybody gets sort of called into That's amazing. Thank you so much for talking with me today. Now, if you want to give your kids a competitive edge in their favorite sport, then stick around because we're catching up with Kid Fun expert Isabel at her December pick of the month.
Hi guys, I'm Isabel, and I'm at the Barn Elite Performance Center talking with Kevin. Hi Kevin, tell me about the barn.
Well, the barn's an elite performance center where we train all kinds of athletes, from hockey players, lacrosse players, volleyball players, and any sport you can play.
What training programs do you offer for kids?
We offer very specific training programs to individuals. So if you're a volleyball player, your program would be tailored to you. If you're a hockey player, your program would be tailored to you.
How many coaches do you have on staff?
We have probably 15 different coaches on staff, 5 or so in the gym, 5 or so in the hockey arena, and 5 in the goalie training.
Can my parents train here too?
Absolutely. We have a ton of parents that train here as well. When they drop off their kid to train for hockey, they can come in the gym and work out and leave at the same time, both ready to go.
Do you also offer birthday parties?
We do. We have birthday parties on our ninja course. We have an American Ninja Warrior course where we do birthday parties there.
Thanks for talking with me today.
Thank you.
Now back to Anna in the studio.
My next guests want you to take your family on a trip back in time this Christmas. So please welcome Lisa and Raven Johnson and Julie Didda. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for having us.
So Julie, you are the president of the Whitby Historic Society.
That's correct.
Can you tell me a little bit about what the Whitby Historic Society is?
So the Whitby Historical Society is a nonprofit organization. It's a charity. We've been around for 50 years.
Okay.
And since 2015, we have run and operated the Lindhouse Museum, located at Brock and Burns in Whitby. And it is a fabulous place. We run all kinds of programs for families. We have tea and speaker nights. We have mystic nights. We have Easter hunts for the kids.
Wow.
We have music nights, workshops, and lectures. And there's always something happening at the Lindhouse Museum. It's a really hidden gem, an unknown gem.
It sounds like
in
it.
Whitby. And the house itself is a fabulous place to visit, and we hold daily tours.
Okay.
But coming up is a special week dedicated just to Christmas and our candlelight tours. And Lisa, our manager, is going to talk about that.
Thank you for coming, Lisa.
Thank you.
So I noticed that you have come from 1870 approximately here.
Yes.
So tell me about the lamplight tours.
So the candlelight tours are a week of evening events. It's going to be, you get to go through the house. So Lindhouse is Durham Region's oldest home.
Is it?
It's really exciting.
Is
yes.
it really?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and so what we're going to do is you get to go through guided tours with costumed guides who are going to lead you through the house, which is going to be beautifully decorated for the season. And you're going to get to try some Victorian treats, and we also have free cider, hot cocoa for the kids.
Okay.
We have a special display this year. It's called Toys of the Past. So it's a new exhibit, and we're going to be showing parts of our collection that aren't always on display. And it's antique and vintage toys, so that should be lots of fun. It's going to be fun for the whole family.
Yeah.
And we have musical guests, so you can come along and sing a carol with one of our musical guests.
Oh, wow.
And of course, we have shopping opportunities. You can shop from local artists and crafters in our gift shop, the Warren General Store.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a very exciting event. Really beautiful, something memorable.
Yeah, it sounds
for
like
the whole
it.
family.
And it's candlelight.
Yes, it's by candlelight. So yes, and
the house was originally at Highway 2 and McQuay, where
Really?
Yeah, and it was
Okay.
moved to Cullen Gardens for quite a long time.
Right.
And then in 2013, it was moved to its present location.
Wow. So it has quite a story.
It really is. And
Wow.
you can read all about it and hear all about it during the tours.
Yeah.
And as I said, we always just have something happening at the museum, and you can check our website. You can become a member.
Okay.
And we always welcome volunteers at the museum. We need everybody to do everything from tours to looking after the garden to even some promotion for the museum as well. We really just want to get the word out there, but a great place it really is.
Well, it sounds amazing. The candlelight tour sounds like it would be a really special experience.
It is.
Right? To go back in time and experience what Christmas would have been like for the people that lived in Lind House.
Yes.
Right? So if I was interested in getting tickets for this event, where would I go?
Well, the event is by donation, so you just come on it's December 9th to 13th every evening, 7 to 9 p.m.
Okay.
And so just come on in. Tours are always starting. It's on a rotation, so all you have to do is walk in and say, I want to join one of the tours.
And is there an age recommendation? I can't imagine this would be a scary event.
Oh, no.
Away from.
It's a very cozy event.
Very cozy, so you could even bring appropriate for little kids.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
You're
We have
getting in
a lot of little children who go through.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, remind me of the date.
It's December 9th to the 13th.
9th to the 13th.
So Monday to Friday, every evening, 7 to 9 p.m.
Okay.
Oh, and the main floor of the house is accessible.
Okay.
But we also can make lots of adaptations for those people who, need some kind of special accommodations.
Okay. And what are you most looking forward to? We have 30 seconds. What's your favorite thing about this? Because you've run it. I think you ran it last year, right?
I think it's the look on the children's faces, especially now with this special Toys of the Past exhibit.
Right.
I think they're going to have so much fun because they really enjoy it.
Yeah, Julie, what about you?
Well, I think it's the lighting, just the lights and the ambiance of the museum, and just as you said, the stepping back in time
That's
and
amazing.
getting that really cozy feeling and starting your Christmas off.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming in today. Thank you. Now, if you want to celebrate the holiday season with some furry friends, then don't go away. We're catching up with Kid Fun expert Kurt at his December pick of the month.
Hi everyone, I'm Kurt, and I'm at Windreach Farms in Ashburn talking with Ross. Hi Ross, tell me about the Holly Jolly Jubilee.
Hey Kurt, thanks for coming out. So the Holly Jolly Jubilee is it's one of our open house events. It's the one that we do leading up to Christmas time. And what we like to do is invite folks out from the community that normally don't have a chance to participate here at the farm to get a feel for what we do here, meet some of our animals, and meet Santa. Santa will be here. We'll have some local artisans here selling crafts and lots of fun activities for kids and families alike.
Now, what time is the event?
So the event will start at 10 a.m. on December 7th, and we'll wrap up by 3 p.m.
What time should people arrive?
Anytime after 10. It gets really busy around lunchtime, so if folks they want to take advantage and see everything, maybe a little earlier in the day or later in that window between 10 and 3, but lunchtime is definitely the busy time.
Now, what kind of activities can people participate in?
So everyone will have the chance to meet all of our wonderful animals here. You'll see we have a few behind us right here. We're also going to have Santa here. He's going to be doing photos and giving out presents. We're going to have some local artisans here selling their crafts. And then there'll be some arts and crafts and other activities for families.
Now, what is the cost?
The cost is $25 per car. So pack in your whole family and make the most of it, for sure.
Now, what will the funds be raised for?
So the funds will all go to support the programs that we do on an average week, which are all geared towards helping people with disabilities and different special needs. So what we do is we try to provide life-enriching activities for folks in a farm environment that really don't have anywhere else to go. So that's where your funds will go to.
All right. Well, thank you for talking to me, Ross.
Thanks so much, Kurt.
Back to Anna in the studio.
You don't need to drive to Toronto to watch live theatre because my next guest is here to tell us about a local production of a popular family musical. Here's Michelle Morrow from the Oshawa Little Theatre.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much for coming.
I'm really excited.
I really want to hear, tell me about Matilda.
Okay, so it's based on the book by Roald Dahl, but it's not as similar to the book or as to the movie as you might expect.
Okay.
Of course, there's more music in it. But it basically tells the story. She is a young girl. Her parents do not appreciate her in any way. They don't appreciate her intelligence. They don't appreciate her humor. And they send her to the school to sort of break her down. And she rebels against the leader of the school, Mrs. Trunchbull, and kind of turns the whole story around.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Do you want to watch a clip?
I do.
All right, let's watch a clip.
So you think you're able to survive this mess? Might be in a prince or a princess, you will soon see. There's no escaping tragedy. And even if you put in heaps of effort, you're just wasting energy. Cause your life as you know it is ancient history. I have suffered in this jail. I've been trapped inside this cage for ages. This living hell. But if I try,
my kids. It's so good to see like the final product after we've been working so hard. We auditioned in June and we started rehearsals end of August. And so to see this actually come to fruition and how hard these kids and these adults have been working, all while having regular jobs and going to school and donating so much of their time, and the parents as well. We're very lucky because Oshawa Theatre, the space we're in right now, we've been in since 1983. Right. So we have the ability to have a workshop and a backstage area. So we have lots of parent volunteers who come and just build sets and paint sets. And we have wonderful set designer, Shane Kelly, who creates these like huge sets and how he's able to turn them around. And then we have Don Simpson, who's one of our head painters, and Zach, and I unfortunately forget his last name, and he's our head carpenter. And they do so much work that just doesn't get the appreciation. Wow. Because you come in and you're just like, these sets are amazing. I think that's what sets us above other theaters in the area.
Wow, and I mean, just watching that clip, you know, like there's obviously been a lot of time has been put into making the set and making it have that feel that you want from the production, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit dark.
A little bit. Yeah, the parents are really mean to Matilda, but it really makes you empathize with her because at some point in our life, we've always had someone who has spoken down to us or belittled us or assumed we couldn't do something because of our age or our size or our gender. And she's like, no, this is who I am and I'm not going to take this. There's a whole song near the beginning of the show called Naughty, and she said one of her lines is, even if you're little, you can do a lot. You mustn't let some little thing like little stop you. And I think that's a good motto.
That is a really good motto.
Yeah.
So how many performers are in this cast?
There are 39 in the cast and 26 of them are 17 and under.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of energy.
That's crazy. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really nice to be able to involve so many children in the community because just to give them a platform where they can learn a show that it's the same music and the script that was on Broadway, the same one that was in Toronto, and they're learning all that music, they're learning those harmonies. We haven't simplified anything. Right. And just to give them that opportunity and that challenge and to see them rise up and take it on and perfect it is really exciting.
Absolutely. And it's a commitment, right? Like it's a real commitment.
Yep. We rehearse Sunday afternoons, 12:30 to 6:30. Sorry, 12:30 to 5:30. And then Monday and Wednesday afternoons, 7 to 10. Okay. Or evenings, I should say. So it's a lot.
So if people are interested in getting tickets, you have evening shows. You also have quite a few matinees.
Yes.
And you can find that on the website.
At OshawaLittleTheatre.com.
Okay. So if you can purchase tickets at the website?
Yes. There's a little button that says buy tickets and you can click through there. And you can always, we try to cut down on waste so you can have it printed up on your phone. You don't actually have a physical copy. Or if you're like me and you like having that paper in hand, you can always purchase it online, then pick it up at the box office.
What are you most looking forward to? It's opening night.
Probably seeing them get to the final number and be like, we did it. Yeah. Like to see this come together. We have an 11-piece orchestra in the pit, and just to see them come together, and I'm really excited to be like, we did it. Yeah. But also to be like, we did it. We were able to do a really big show and hopefully do it really well.
Yeah. So if people were watching and they're like, you know what, I would actually really like to get involved in this. You know, my child likes to perform, they like to sing. Where would they go?
So we always encourage kids to come out and see the main stage shows. There's 2 plays and 2 musicals a season, just to sort of get a feeling for it. Yeah. We always take volunteers. So even if you're not involved in the show, if you want to be an usher, if you want to be part of not carpentry, but like painting, any sort of volunteers, costumes, we're always open to that. The theater runs because we have so many wonderful volunteers. Right. There's also a youth group through Oshawa Theatre. They audition in June. If you go to the website again, OshawaLittleTheatre.com, there's a link you can click on for the youth, and you can come see their show. Yeah. It's usually around the Victoria Day weekend in May, and then auditions are in June. And that's a year-long process. So they spend the first half of the year really honing their skills, doing workshops, and then they start working on their show in January, and then they open in May.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming to talk to me
my pleasure.
Now, Kid Fun expert Hannah found an event in Oshawa that's old-fashioned fun for the whole family. Stick around to find out where she is.
Hi, my name is Hannah, and I'm at the Oshawa Museum talking with Jill. Hi, Jill. Tell me about the museum.
Hi, Hannah. The Oshawa Museum are 3 restored houses on their original foundations, which makes us one of Oshawa's oldest communities, and we date back to the 1840s.
What is a lamplight tour?
The Lamplight Tour is an event that we've been doing here for over 25 years, and we kick off the holiday season by celebrating with oil lamps and tours and everybody in costume.
Is it fun for kids?
It's really fun for kids and the whole family. You'll get to see everybody dressed up. You'll get to test stirring the plum pudding and making cookies and all sorts of other fun things.
How much are the tickets?
The tickets are only $5, which makes it a really good deal for the whole family.
What do you like the best about the tour?
I really like talking to everyone. It's a great time to see our old friends and our new friends that have come to visit us and celebrate the holiday season.
Thanks for talking with me today. Now back to Anna in the studio.
Now, my last guests want you to think local when you're shopping this holiday season. Please welcome Melinda LeMay from Picks and Giggles Handmade Markets, Kirsten and Jerica from Everyday Hustle, and Tiffany from Ponchies for Kids. So welcome, ladies.
Thanks for having us.
I'm so excited to hear. We're a local show. We're all about the local. We love local. So if we can highlight the things that you're doing and your business and the market, I am so excited to do that. So Melinda, tell me a little bit about Picks and Giggles.
So we are a local market, primarily based in Oshawa, and we're hosting our next market on December 15th in Oshawa at Kingsway College, and there'll be over 90 local and handmade businesses in the show, and so it's just really about coming out and shopping and supporting our local economy and just seeing all the lovely small businesses that we have in our community. So
amazing. So how would we get tickets for something like this?
So you can it's open to the public, so you can show up at the doors. Admission is $5. Doors are open from 10 to 4 on December 15th. Or we have about 20 tickets left online for pre-sale. So if you want to get your ticket early to avoid the big lineup the day of, there's a couple left. So not too many. So if you want them, hurry up and get them before they sell out. Otherwise, just show up at the door and anybody can come in.
Now, is this a very busy event?
Yes.
So if you're bringing your children, would you suggest carrier?
So the venue has lots of room, so you can bring your carrier if they're little, or a stroller if you need to, so you can have more hands to shop and buy as much things for the holidays as possible. But there's lots of room for moving, and we do have some children's entertainment coming, some special guests.
Fun.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's fun for the whole family.
Absolutely.
Bring the kids and do some shopping. Excellent. So let's talk about Everyday Hustle. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so our business is we make adult and children's clothing under our line, and when we started the business, we really wanted to be socially aware of what we were doing and how we were making the clothing. Right. So our fabric is actually all made in Ontario, and it's manufactured in Ontario as well. Oh, wow. And most of our pieces we've designed ourselves. So we have here, this is called our Savage Suit. It's a kid's romper. And then the back has this piece here where you can just flip the baby's legs in and out. So it's good for obviously diaper changing, but also checking to see, so you don't have to make the diaper change if you don't need to.
Yes.
And this is in our custom blend of fabric. It's actually knit in Mississauga, dyed in Mississauga, and it's a bamboo French cherry blend. So it's super soft, breathable.
Oh my goodness, it is so soft.
Yeah.
And I love this.
Yeah, so it actually came from an idea that we had when I had my son, and he was wearing a lot of the pull-on rompers, which are great.
Yes.
But we just kind of wanted to do something different and something that made sense for a mom or a daycare person on the go trying to quickly change a diaper. So it's been working out really well for us. Definitely.
Yeah, amazing. So are there other pieces that you'll be selling?
Yes, so we're gonna have these in 3 colors. We have it in this, which is great for holiday. We have it in forest green and also a black. And then we have some printed items that match with our adult line as well. So you can match your kids if you like. And then
I
we
love
have
that though. That's so trendy.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Wearing one, right?
Yes, and I'm wearing the adult version of it's called the jumpsuit. It's seamed really nicely, so it's flattering, and the back panel actually comes up the same way as well, so you can go to the washroom without pulling it down to get naked. So.
It looks super comfy.
Yeah, so it's the same fabric. Because it's bamboo, it's really breathable, but it's got a nice weight because of the French terry, so it's slimming and it hides what you want to hide and showcases what you want to showcase.
Right.
So, yeah.
And you can dress it up or dress it down.
Correct, yeah.
Right.
So we kind of made it so that the pattern, you can dress it up or down, so it's great for lounging, but it's also great for holiday wear.
Right.
Or just anything you can wear to work.
Yeah, I could totally see wearing that to work.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm wearing their pants too, actually.
Are you?
Yes.
Oh
and
my
they're
gosh.
like high-waisted, so...
I'm all about the high waist now these days.
But I wear them
Don't
to
ever
work.
go out of style.
Yeah, and I wear them to work at the studio because they're so comfortable and their quality is so amazing. I've washed them a million times.
Well, I'm going to have to go and buy some then for myself, I think. I'll come to market. So, Tiffany, tell me about Ponchies for Kids.
Yeah, so these are my ponchos. They are for kids ages 0 to 6, and I even make for the older kids. This one is the size 0 to 2 years, and it's my brand new leopard design. So of course they all have, I put eyes and noses and ears on most of them, and some of them have tails. And the whole idea is that you can unsnap the snap at the side, and it goes over a car seat, so you don't have to worry about the no snowsuit in the car seat. So it's like it's an all-in-one poncho, car seat poncho.
Wow.
And then the drawstrings are there so that when they're growing or when they're younger, you can cinch it up, and when they start to grow, you can let it out. So that's the whole idea. The size 0 to 2 years will literally last multiple seasons, multiple years, and I hand make and design all of them myself in my studio in Toronto. So yeah.
Now this is brilliant. I have 4 children. So I've struggled with the car seat in the winter.
Right.
I think this is amazing.
It is amazing.
Thank you.
That's terrific.
That was kind of like a bonus. I just really wanted to make something fun and cute and long lasting and really good quality. So I just made the ponchos to begin with, and then the car seat thing was just like an added bonus.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So when we shop at Picks and Giggles, these are the people that we're supporting, right?
Correct.
Makers within our community.
Right.
Our neighbors, our friends, the moms down at school. So why is it important for you to create an event like this?
I think, like for myself and so many of us, we really want to keep the money in the community and show society that we can do it if you have a dream and a passion and you have hard work. You can create your own business, and we are lucky to live in a community that is so supportive of it, and it's been great to see the growth of small businesses at Durham Region and Ontario.
Right.
And it's a great community, and we really want to go along the line of like purchasing with purpose. So we know by shopping small, it might cost a little bit more money, but the intent behind it is so much bigger.
For sure. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming in today.
Thank you.
And thanks to all our guests and our kid experts for sharing their December events and activities with us. But most of all, thank you for watching. From everyone here at the Rogers Studio in Oshawa, have fun with your family and friends this month, and we'll see you next time.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like crushing your cans and bottles down in your container's blue box and your box board down in your papers box. This saves a lot of space and reduces the possibility of material blowing out of your blue box on windy days.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
This will change the world.
What? There's a family in our driveway. Wake up! So you feeling what I'm feeling?
Yes! Now is the time to choose a side.
I mean, it's all right to express your emotions.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
You're watching Rogers TV. The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
I'm Eric Marchin, host of Cinema Scene in Review. Lest we forget to honor the brave men and women who courageously fought for Canada's freedom, and to those currently serving, thank you. On today's episode, find out who has the last laugh in Todd Phillips' Joker. Also, were sequels Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, and Zombieland Double Tap worth the wait? And as always, recommendation roundups at the end of the show. But first, it's time to act like you own the place with Bong Joon-ho's satirical masterpiece, Parasite. Roll the spoiler-free review. Since making Cannes Film Festival history as the first Korean directed submission to win the prestigious Palme d'Or, versatile auteur, Bong Joon-ho's tonal tightrope of a social satire Parasite has been infecting audiences wherever it goes. From Telluride to TIFF, New York to Philadelphia, the film has massive crossover appeal, generating serious awards attention. But what is Parasite, you might ask? In my opinion, the best way to watch this pitch-black masterpiece is going in completely cold and allowing the narrative to work its magic. So without spoilers, the metaphorical story of economic inequality revolves around two South Korean families of four who cannot be further apart in social standing. The Kim family, living in a cluttered semi-basement apartment, are all unemployed. The son, portrayed by Korean-Canadian Choi Woo-shik, lucks out under false pretenses, acquiring a high-paying tutoring gig, teaching English to the adolescent daughter of an affluent family, the Parks. A series of well-orchestrated cons leads to the rest of the Kims infiltrating the spaciously designed home, replacing recently vacated positions of the Park's subservient staff. What happens next is best left up to audiences to discover. Its unpredictable narrative will zig instead of zag, with cultural specificity and universal themes at the same time. Whether this is your first Bong hit or not, you'll quickly catch on that this isn't easy to categorize. Is it a drama, comedy, or tragedy? There's a lot to unpack. Don't be surprised if you find yourself feeling guilty for laughing at something inappropriate. Bong brilliantly blends multiple genres with an assured style that cannot be imitated. His acting muse Song Kang-ho, the patriarch of the Kim family, has worked with Bong throughout his impressive career and gives what has to be his finest performance to date as an emasculated father pushed to the breaking point. It's cliche to say this, but production designer Ha Jun Lee's contemporary architecturally designed home of the Parks is pretty close to being an actual character in the film, and cinematographer Hong Young-pyo's icy aesthetic pays attention to the details. The thrilling brutality will gestate in the mind long after having watched Parasite, because it's so metaphorical. My final rating, A+. Antonio Banderas won the Best Actor prize at this year's Cannes Film Festival, giving what may arguably be his best career performance in writer-director Pedro Almodovar's introspective narrative, which plays out like a less surreal version of Fellini's masterpiece, 8½. Banderas portrays Salvador Melo, a Spanish filmmaker known internationally to have a certain theatrical flair. Sound familiar? Salvador physically suffers in darkness within his swanky apartment due to debilitating migraines and reflects back on his childhood, featuring muse Penelope Cruz as the younger matriarch. These sequences dovetail nicely into Salvador's present day, where the auteur's quality of life is slowly diminishing. During an expository animated sequence, we realize how significantly his artistic output has been hindered by his ailments. It's also one of the few scenes that reflect Almodovar's flamboyant style, brandishing vibrant colors on screen, and then there's the continual coughing fits that often result in choking. But this contemplative piece of autofiction isn't all doom and gloom. At times it is humorous and vulnerable due to Banderas' low-key portrayal. When Salvador is approached by a cinematheque interested in screening his 1980s film Sabor, the director reaches out to the estranged lead and drug addict Alberto, betrayed by an aggrieved Aesir Extendia. The two attempt to make amends, but their falling out is made worse during an iPhone Q&A, which has to be one of the best audience participation cross-examinations committed to screen. To make up for this, Banderas' character hesitantly offers the burnout actor a one-act play about a past relationship addiction, leading to the profoundly cathartic third act. Almodovar grapples with aging, regrets, and the personal connections that helped shape his identity, emotionally wrestling with mothers literally and metaphorically because until of late, Spain hadn't embraced its campy, satirically minded son. Banderas only reunited with Almodovar in 2011 after ending a 21-year falling out. Pain and glory is therapeutic for them both. The actor, who is considered to be a 90s heartthrob, gracefully sinks deep into the most nuanced performance he's ever given. His sympathetic face says so much without having to say anything at all. Pedro Almodovar might have suffered painfully for our cinematic sins, but audiences will get all the glory of Spain's Best International Oscar submission. My final rating, A-.
One small thing.
Yeah.
When you bring me out, can you introduce me as Joker?
Everybody plays the fool sometimes, and Joaquin Phoenix's killer performance as the clown prince of crime is no exception to the rule. His agent of chaos makes up for the on-the-red-nose script that clearly channels Scorsese's misanthropic protagonists, Travis Bickle and Rupert Pumpkin. Right off the bat, pun intended, comic book fans will notice there's no accompanying DC logo. Instead, audiences enter the disturbed mind of Arthur Fleck, portrayed by emaciated Phoenix living in circa 1981 Gotham City, with his invalid mother Penny, portrayed by Frances Conroy. The would-be comic clown for hire is barely able to juggle his dark thoughts and urges, even during therapy sessions with a clinical social worker. Arthur also suffers from a rare neurological disorder called pathological laughter, which causes him to break out in uncontrollable hilarity, leading to the disapproval of others. In a nod to 1983's cringeworthy satire The King of Comedy, Arthur fantasizes about being a great comedian, appearing on Murray Franklin's late-night talk show with Robert De Niro cameoing as the host. Joker reflects America's current fractured political climate as Fleck's personal strife pushes him to the absolute breaking point. One violent act on a subway train sparks a grassroots movement where anyone inspired by the Joker's actions rebel against civilized society. The movie doesn't condemn or condone the copycats, making it increasingly frustrating. Phoenix has some pretty big shoes to fill after the likes of Jack Nicholson and the late great Heath Ledger. The contorted actor painfully descends into madness as the world shoves him into a corner. It's also important to credit costume designer Mark Bridges' Cesar Romero-inspired attire and the makeup department for creating such a frightening villain. The Hangover director Todd Phillips has crafted a 70s-style character study with co-writer Scott Silver, and there are more references to the New York-inspired version of Gotham than expected. A young Bruce Wayne appears, as does his Trump-like patriarch Thomas running for mayor, which is surprising since Phillips intentionally made the film a period piece to avoid potential franchising. Since winning the Golden Lion at Venice, Joker has been the source of controversy, so much so that U.S. troops were briefed to secure theaters on opening weekend. And while it's definitely a troublemaker for DC, having to worry about one's own safety while attending a screening is not a joke, because no one should feel unsafe attending a movie, but that's unfortunately a product of our time, just like Joker. My final rating, A-. Yar, it's time to spill the beans on the witch director Robert Eggers' highly anticipated follow-up about two lighthouse keepers, portrayed by Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, slowly descending into maritime madness. Shot on stunning 35mm black and white film stock in a square-like aspect ratio in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, this seafaring or farting tale of terror transports audiences back to the 19th century along the New England coast, where Pattinson and Dafoe's isolated wikis are stationed for 4 weeks with nothing but time on their hands and mermaids on the mind. They're the definition of bad bunk buddies. Dafoe's cantankerous elder bosses Pattinson's mysterious youth, who's either on the run from the law or escaping his past. The two-hander doesn't reveal their Melvillian names until much later on into the film, which isn't necessarily a spoiler, but since the narrative has a gaslighting element, it's best to leave seagulls with sailor souls alone. However, that's easier said than done, as Pattinson's character is obstructed by an ominous one-eyed gull during his daily upkeep on the small rock. Eggers is clearly suspicious of certain land and sky animals, as the demonic goat Black Phillip in his debut also represented something sinister brewing. Co-written by Eggers and his brother Max, the film credits the writing of Moby Dick author Herman Melville as well as actual lighthouse keeper logs. The Greek myth of Prometheus is another borrowed reference, particularly the obsession over forbidden light. Ye Olde English spoken can explode into some salty diatribe, especially when Pattinson erupts. And while I liked his plummeting performance, the Maine-esque dialect can slip into irate Mayor Quimby territory. Costume designer Linda Muir's work is as painstakingly detailed as the director's compulsion to period perfection, but the tattered and torn onesie Defoe wears is the wardrobe's piece de resistance. I applaud Eggers' attention to historical details, wanting to recreate the lived-in feel of the time while mixing early sound and visual tropes often associated with the cinema's bygone era, but I found the actual narrative less spellbinding than The Witch. The lighthouse shines brightest on the below-the-line craft and director Robert Eggers' own trademark style. My final rating, B.
Hi, Adolf.
What's wrong, little man?
They call me a scared rabbit.
Popping into theaters after winning the People's Choice Award at TIFF 2019, director Taika Waititi's Passion Project, based on the novel Caging Skies by Christine Lunis, places the satirical filmmaker in the role of imaginary best friend Adolf Hitler to German youth Jojo, portrayed by British newcomer Roman Griffin Davis during the tail end of World War II. Davis's naive, propaganda-influenced protagonist doesn't completely comprehend the horrors going on around him, as Waititi's goofy Führer provides ironic encouragement. You see him spending time with other kids in what he thinks is a Boy Scout-esque organization, but in reality he's being trained to join Hitler's youth. The scenes will understandably invoke Wes Anderson's Moonrise Kingdom, just a bit more whimsical than quirky. Even Sam Rockwell channels his inner Bill Murray to play a deadpan captain with a certain flair for fascism. The casting feels obvious, however, he's quite good in the smaller part. Jojo is the only child to a father on the front lines whose mother, portrayed by Scarlett Johansson, is hiding a young Jewish girl Elsa inside the walls of their Art Deco home. Leave No Trace breakout Thomasin McKenzie gives the best performance in the film as Elsa, quickly calling out Jojo's anti-Semitic rhetoric. Slowly they accept one another, but at the same time, Jojo must keep quiet, for if the Nazis find out, they would all be executed for harboring enemies of the state. Davis gives such a likable performance that his change of heart and loss of innocence doesn't feel that impactful. You know right from the beginning that he's not a bad person. The film plays it one of two ways. There's the extremely broad comedy with Stephen Merchant's towering Gestapo agent and Rebel Wilson's frantic Fraulein, and then there's the emotionally cathartic moments where Rockwell, Johansson, and McKenzie aren't simply going for laughs. Even the use of David Bowie's German version of Heroes recorded during the late great musician's Berlin period feels a bit on the nose. It all adds up to a very mixed result. Waititi's point to how idiotic fascism can be rides a fine line without making light of the Holocaust or Nazi Germany. The anti-hate satire of Jojo Rabbit isn't great, but has its heart in the right place and more importantly on the right side of history. My final rating, B-. Follower or foe is the primary lesson Timothée Chalamet's novice Henry V will learn once crowned King of England in Australian director David Michaud's bloody and often muddy costume drama with a contemporary edge. Co-writers Michaud and actor Joel Edgerton, who portrays Sir John Falstaff in the Netflix film, have adapted Shakespeare's plays set in early 15th century England during civil unrest. Here they begin with an ailing King Henry IV, portrayed by Ben Mendelsohn, ruling with an iron fist. Chalamet's Prince Hal couldn't be further removed, living a hedonistic lifestyle amongst peasants, drinking at night and sleeping all day. He doesn't yearn for absolute power the way his patriarch does, preferring to be left to his own devices. That all changes when Hal's obedient brother dies in battle, leaving him next in line to the throne. His first order of business is to end all grievances with warring countries, but the peaceful transition of power doesn't sit well with conniving clergymen wanting the status quo to be moved in their favor. And wouldn't you know it, opportunity presents itself when France openly mocks the new ruler, going as far as to send a would-be assassin to kill King Henry V. War is declared, with Chalamet's political transformation slowly taking shape. He becomes ruthless, feeling pressure from all sides to regain England's dominance on neighboring countries, antagonized by Robert Pattinson's ridiculous Dauphin of France, with a blonde wig looking like Tom Cruise's vampire Lestat, and an out-of-this-world French accent sounding closer to a Frenchman from Monty Python's The Holy Grail. Pattinson is equally distracting and riotous. He's absolutely having a hoot in the role. His line about speaking English because it's simple and ugly to Chalamet, who speaks French, feels defiant. The Call Me By Your Name star, sporting a sweet bowl cut, does his take on the Michael Corleone character arc, going from wayward son to merciless king, but the narrative is kinder to its appealing lead. The same goes for Edgerton's Falstaff, who is reinterpreted as Henry's sage confidant instead of puppet master. It's definitely an interesting choice, however it doesn't pay off. The King is currently playing in limited release and will be available to stream on Netflix starting November 1st. I'd say stream it instead of screen it. My final rating, C+.
25 years ago, he took my blood. He made you from me.
It's Will Smith versus Will Smith in director Ang Lee's state-of-the-art action thriller shot in 4K 3D at 120 frames per second while utilizing the latest de-aging VFX from Weta Digital. Admittedly, I wasn't a fan of the sharp focus motion smoothing effect the higher frame rate produced in Lee's last misstep, Billy Lynn's long halftime walk. The movie relied too heavily on the gimmick and was nothing more than a tech demo. Gemini Man, with its conventional narrative about an aging hitman, has been kicking around blockbuster producer Jerry Bruckheimer's office since 1997, with story credit going to Darren Lemke and Game of Thrones showrunner David Benioff, in addition to rewrites by Billy Ray. Ironically, for a film that pushes innovation and technology, the plot is dated, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but a fair criticism and falls within the Bruckheimer canon of macho movies. What Lee brings to the table, besides some stunning action sequences, is a compassionate perspective and ethical quandary on the subject of human cloning. It's a globe-trotting action-adventure with Smith's character hunted down by U.S. government officials, led by Clive Owen's shady suit, who runs the top-secret government facility Gemini Project, unleashing a clone version of the Fresh Prince in hot pursuit. But there's more to Smith and his mortality. It's having to face one's own reflection, or as the movie references, chasing ghosts. Smith's dual performances, along with the film's writing, is earnest, despite any potential philosophical debate. Now, the de-aging is without a doubt impressive, but genre-wise, the film is light on science fiction, grounding events in the real world instead of a futuristic environment. The one thing that's kind of odd is how the marketing for this production has been upfront about the Wills, yet in the film they're presented as a shocking discovery halfway through. Lee is overqualified for this kind of material, getting lost in the technical side of things, and although there are a handful of theaters properly equipped to project the envisioned final product, this movie doesn't completely rely on it. Gemini Man is an interesting bit of late 90s nostalgia with some above-average action set pieces. It's two Wills for the price of one. My final rating, C.
Time to wrap it up.
Just a few more minutes.
Natalie Portman, after coming back down to Earth, spaces out in suburbia as Fargo and Legion showrunner Noah Hawley makes his feature film directorial debut, loosely based on discharged NASA astronaut Lisa Nowak. For those unfamiliar with the embarrassing escapade, Nowak drove over 900 miles from Houston to Orlando wearing NASA-grade diapers to cut down on pit stops to confront her lover and fellow astronaut about his infidelity. But in Hawley's stylish account, there's no diaper to speak of, which is the least of the movie's problems. Portman's Lucy Cola has returned from a transformative first mission amongst diamond-like stars to mundane civilian life with her family. She's determined to get a place on the next space shuttle and finds herself competing against Zazie Beetz' underutilized astronaut Aaron Eccles. The script attempts to address the competitive nature within NASA, emphasizing how difficult it is for women astronauts, but Brian C. Brown and Elliot D. Giuseppe's screenplay, with revisions by Hawley, lacks female voices in the writing process and turns its lead into a scorned psychopath. Making matters worse is Jon Hamm's womanizing Mark Goodwin, who knows that fraternizing, let alone illicit affairs with fellow astronauts, goes against policy. But hey, he can get away with it because he's a man. At first, Lucy justifies their sexual relationship as a substitute for the euphoric feeling she had in zero-gravity space, but when she discovers that Beats' character is also seeing Mark, it ignites her obsessive-compulsive jealousy. The scenes between Portman and Hamm are meant to be erotic, yet Hawley's direction makes it remarkably sterile. His approach may have worked wonders on TV, but this medium requires something deeper and more meaningful than, say, just shifting aspect ratios. Portman's performance, Southern twang and all, is completely committed to the role, delivering another unique character in her filmography, but while she fearlessly loses herself, the rest of the production never voyages to the place she travels to. And a cover of the Beatles' eponymous track is unceremoniously used. Lucy in the Sky Without Diamonds, or Diapers, is more like it. My final rating, C.
Oh, God. Hey, Possum, eh? Sorry, just you in that chair. I think I would have made a damn fine president.
You would have brought a real dignity to the office.
You're welcome, America.
In the words of Woody Harrelson's Tallahassee, it's time to nut up or shut up. The returning cast and crew retread familiar ground 10 years later, fighting their way through hordes of the undead while trying to find a forever home. But was the long-delayed follow-up worth the wait? Whether or not you enjoyed the first film, rigor mortis has long since set in, making the stiff sequel dead on arrival. Rejoining Harrelson's macho doofus cowboy are Jesse Eisenberg's neurotic Nellie Columbus, Abigail Breslin's rebellious adolescent Little Rock, and Emma Stone's sarcastic survivor Wichita. The four city slickers seek refuge at the White House, where you can count on a few on-the-nose references to the current U.S. administration. It's one of the many times that Deadpool screenwriters Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick smugly assert their meta humor. However, none of the actors appear to be engaged by the material in the slightest. Speaking of engagements, Harrelson, Eisenberg, and Stone go on a road trip to Graceland in search of Breslin's defiant one who's flown the coop. Eisenberg and Stone, with zero romantic on-screen chemistry, have been going through a rough patch themselves after an awkward proposal. These moments are emotionally unearned, as there's no interior life within these characters, nor do you care what happens to them on the road. The repetition of this time capsule of a movie soon becomes tedious. It offers nothing fresh or clever to the action comedy. Even the new quirks just replace the old ones. Now Harrelson's character is obsessed with Elvis instead of Twinkies. And although the film directed by Ruben Fleischer doesn't condone right-wing propaganda, the scenes where good old-fashioned American warmongering wins out over the diplomatic approach may be misconstrued. New additions to the supporting cast include the bizarro versions of the male leads, played by Luke Wilson and Thomas Middleditch, Rosario Dawson's Tough as Nails Nevada, and Zoe Deutsch in the quote dumb blonde role as Madison. She does her best to make a cruel stereotype funny. Stay for the closing credits to catch a fun little post-credit scene that earns some much-needed laughs. Maybe it was a good thing that we never got the once proposed TV series. Zombieland Double Tap doubles down, which is why it's just better to tap out. My final rating, C.
I remember the story of an evil witch.
And they all lived happily ever after isn't always the end of a story, especially when profitability plays a role. That's the case with Disney's Sorcerer's sequel to the 2014 live-action reimagining of Sleeping Beauty, which turned its archetypal antagonist into an astonishing anti-hero. Angelina Jolie reprises her CGI-augmented performance as the guardian of the Moors and fairy godmother to Queen Aurora, portrayed once again by Elle Fanning, who's become recently engaged to Prince Philip of Alstead. The cursed plot opposes Jolie's titular character against Michelle Pfeiffer's nefarious Queen Ingrid of Alstead, and a guess who's coming to dinner meet the in-laws type scenario. It might be the only scene worth praising. It attempts to float the idea of unity by putting aside differences for the good of both kingdoms. That aspiration quickly flies out the window with Maleficent once she's accused of hexing King John, creating a rift between godmother and child, making the threat of war loom larger. But that's not enough plot. The screenplay now finds it necessary to create a tarred and feathered mythology for the horned heroine by discovering she's a dark fae. The themes of segregation, tolerance, and the environment are clearly on the mind of director Joachim Ronning, but it's all superficially integrated, leaving room for post-production rendered battles in Act 3. Truthfully, I wasn't a fan of the first installment. I found the rape revenge fantasy rather off-putting for a kids movie, but at least it was an original take on the animated film, not simply regurgitating the same old fare. Jolie and Pfeiffer look like they're having a good time, Pfeiffer in particular. The three-time Oscar nominee can menacingly scowl like nobody's business. These two, given the right script, could knock it out of the park because you feel some interesting chemistry percolating, but there are too many scenes where characters are either scaling walls or running down stairs to reveal truths yet to be discovered, and like the movie itself coming 5 years too late, the word redundant comes to mind. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil isn't the sequel supreme it intends to be. My final rating, C. Recapping this month's recommendations, Parasite, believe the hype. South Korean filmmaker Bong Joon-ho's latest masterwork crosses both boundaries and borders to be an accessible entertainment for casual moviegoers and cinephiles alike. Join the Buzzy Bong Hive today. You won't regret it because it is truly one of the best movies of the year, and it's a film that you can't talk about until you've seen it because it is that good. It is worth waiting for, and the reveals you'll never see coming. Pain and Glory. Antonio Banderas gives a career best performance, deservedly winning the actor prize at Cannes, portraying an aging auteur in Spanish writer-director Pedro Almodovar's introspective drama. The two have been working together since the late 80s. They had a bit of a falling out in the 90s and then kind of came back together in 2011. It's both of their best work and really actually quite restrained given Pedro's kind of flamboyant style. But nonetheless, if you are a lover of film and international filmmaking, you need to see this. It's very much in the vein of 8.5. Joker. The discourse on DC's disturbing character study centered on Batman's greatest foe has been hotly contested. However, three-time Oscar nominee Joaquin Phoenix isn't clowning around, pun intended, when giving Gotham City a better class of criminal. His maniacal performance makes you wish the Cape Crusader was just a distress signal away, and that's what's important with this movie is that you have a great performance in a film that has been getting a lot of mixed reviews, being called, Scorsese adjacent, mixing both Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy. But at the center of it all, Joaquin Phoenix delivers an amazing, warped, disturbing performance that is very much, in league with what the late great Heath Ledger did in The Dark Knight, and obviously Cesar Romero in the original Batman 1960s series. And that's a wrap. You can visit RogersTV.com/CinemaScene for all the latest ratings. Thanks for watching. See you next time in review.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Let's go to work. Our killer left no fingerprints, no witnesses, and no evidence whatsoever. This is next level stuff.
You don't know what this world is like.
I'm wanted for homicide.
This place is full of crazy.
Rex?
Rex.
Rex is picking up on something. It's like we both have this hunch.
When you get hunches, I get nervous.
What's this, good cop, bad cop? You're a good boy.
Hudson and Rex, Tuesdays, 8/7 Central on City TV.
They served to protect our homes. Now many are homeless. They fought for our way of life. Now many are fighting personal battles of their own. They answered the call for our country. Now we honor them by serving our communities. Help us help Canada's veterans. Become a Legion member today.
This is Rogers TV, Durham Region. The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like bundling your cardboard separately. These bundles can act as a lid for your blue box or placing heavier items such as magazines on top of papers with no material above the rim.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talk Politics. I'm Deborah Hutchison. Our guest this week is Oshawa MP Colin Carey, returning for yet another term.
Yes, thank you very much, Steph, for having me here.
Congratulations. 2004, you were first elected. Here it is, 2019. Did you think when you were elected back in 2004 that you'd still be here in 19?
Well, I made a little joke the evening that the results came in, and I said to my wife Elizabeth, "Oh yeah, maybe you let me do this for a couple of years and look at it. It's been quite a great career, and I want to thank the people of Oshawa for entrusting me with really the honor of representing them again. And I'm looking forward to a very interesting Parliament. As you brought up in 04, it was a minority government in 04, in 06 and 08. And then there was a majority Conservative in 11, majority Liberal in 15, and now another minority Liberal. So I think I've been in more minority governments probably than most people would ever be in. So I'm looking forward to it, though. I think we can get a lot done.
Do you, though, in a minority situation?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said in the past, we've been very successful getting things done, working together. I think right now Canadians are a little concerned about the economy. We see this division between Western alienation, the rise of the Bloc Québécois. So we really do have to be careful, but we got to work hard because Canadians have sent a clear message. Mr. Trudeau got 1 million votes less than he got last time. We actually won the popular vote. So he's got to be able to now, instead of being more kind of doing his own thing, he's got to work with the opposition parties. And I think in my experience, that does happen in a minority government.
But, you know, traditionally, when you're in a minority situation, it's been said that, you know, the government doesn't last more than 2 years.
Well, people may be surprised this time around because if you look at how the lay of the land is, the political parties out there, the NDP had a horrible showing this time around, down to 24 seats, and they don't have any money in the bank, so obviously they don't want to go to election. And the big surprise was the Bloc Québécois. They were pretty much not an issue for a decade, particularly under our government. It was a non-issue, but to have them surge back like this, they're in no rush to lose their spot in national politics. So they'll have no real desire to go into an election. So I think Mr. Trudeau has a lot of cards he can play, and he knows that we will be supportive on certain economic things that we've been proposing for years now. There hasn't been a pipeline built that we need for our Western friends who are really hurting out west. And of course, our international trade agreements, NAFTA, it was part of the original TPP, and over 4 years of the previous government, nothing has been finalized there. So there's some things we'll be helping him out with too. So as long as he listens to the opposition parties, I think we will get some important things done.
So you don't see any party being anxious to pull the trigger, so to speak?
I would be surprised if there was an election quickly. As I said, the lay of the land, he can choose from which party that he wants to partner with on certain issues. I think you'll see it more of an issue-by-issue basis. But the average minority government, I think, lasts 18 months, somewhere around there. Mr. Harper had the longest one between 2006 and 2000, and well, no, it was 2008, 2011 was the longest one. So hopefully Mr. Trudeau learns from history, and that if you can work with other parties, you can have an accomplished government.
Now, this election must have been a little bittersweet for you. You know, you elected with great results, but nationally, you couldn't have been too happy with what had happened.
Yeah, I think there was, again, locally, I was so happy with the support that I received. I have a great campaign team, lots of volunteers coming out. But nationally, yeah, I was disappointed, and I think our leader came out being very disappointed, but obviously Canadians weren't ready to make a change in the overall government. But they did give Mr. Trudeau the smallest mandate ever in the history of Canada. I think it's like 32%, and when you consider only 60% of Canadians went out there and voted, it's not a strong mandate for Mr. Trudeau. But what it means is we have to work harder to make sure that our message gets out and to show that we have a positive vision for Canadians, because next time around, I think we are going to have a different result. As you mentioned quite correctly, I was in the 2004 election. It was the Liberals who had a minority. Mr. Harper won the next time around in 2006. So we got to keep working hard, get our message out, and make sure that Mr. Trudeau listens to the priorities of Canadians, because we want to make sure that we have these uniting policies to bring our country back together again. Economic policies such as the pipeline or the energy corridor we brought up. Real action on the environment. We brought up some really good ideas in our platform for the environment, but also people want, I heard this at the door, they want more integrity and ethics in government as well. So we're going to have to really work with him to make sure that there's no people in the penalty box like it was last mandate.
Why do you think the Conservatives were not successful in forming a government?
I think really we did not get that positive message out. There was a lot of static in the election that you know, people were talking about instead of really solid policy. And I understand the strategy there, but the reality is right now, Canada, we're in a situation where from an economic standpoint, the books kind of look okay, but historically we have a recession every 7 years. It's been over 10 years. Our greatest trading partner, the United States, 75% of our trade goes with the United States, and right now there are challenges resolving the NAFTA, which the uncertainty of that is really slowing down investment in Canada. Not only foreign countries aren't investing in Canada, Canadian companies are investing outside, so we have to return some certainty to let people know Canada still is a solid place to do business. So we've got to get these messages out, and we also have to make sure that we hold Mr. Trudeau's feet to the fire for the different promises that he made during the election, especially on infrastructure. So here in Oshawa, Durham region, there are needs that we have here, and we're hoping that his new cabinet, some of them don't have a great history of working together with the provinces and territories, that they change the way that they approach how they do things, because they made some very strong promises in the election we want to see fulfilled.
Recently, a cabinet shuffle, your reaction to that? Nobody from Durham in his cabinet, although Mark Holland remains as his whip.
Yeah, it was disappointing because Mr. Harper did realize how important Durham region is to Canada and the growth, and we still are the place to be, if you ask me. The fact that we don't have representation at the cabinet table again is extremely disappointing. Under our government, we had myself as a parliamentary secretary, we had Jim Flaherty, Chris Alexander, Aaron O'Toole, Bev Oda over the years. We've always had at least 2 cabinet ministers from this area, and for Mr. Trudeau to shut us out again, especially with some important issues like, as you're quite aware, the Pickering Airport. We've lost big time in Oshawa with the closing of the General Motors plant. I was entirely shocked that the Prime Minister never bothered to come down, didn't even phone our mayor for a couple of weeks, and it was just if it was SNC Lavalin, it seems he would bend over backwards. But for our plant here in Oshawa, really nothing was done. We have an opportunity for economic growth to explore this idea of the Pickering Airport. Apparently there is an economic study on the minister's desk just waiting to be released. So I'll be pushing to make sure that that's released as well, because we have to look for the jobs of the future and see what we can do to maintain the jobs that we're very, very good at. And again, I say Oshawa and Durham Region, we're very poised to take advantage of that, but we need a government that's supported at the federal level.
So where are we then with GM? I mean, the clock is ticking for the final closure.
Well, there's, and again, I heard it at the doors, not only workers at General Motors, but of the supply,
and the feeder plants.
The feeder plants out there. Again, it's the uncertainty. Imagine that you've just thought you had a career and you've lost your job. And with all the affordability issues that we were talking about during the election, it's a very stressful time for families. So for sure, I'd like to see more action done for displaced workers. I'm pleased to know that General Motors and Durham College have been working together, and the Durham Workforce Authority to help people, as a portal to see what's available out there. But this is definitely a hit to our history. We've always been a manufacturing community. For over 100 years, General Motors was here. But I think now it is important that our current federal government looks ahead and says, Durham Region, yes, we understand you had a big hit, but you know what? Let's see what else we can do to help move things forward for your economy. So I'll be looking into the Pickering Airport to get that report released as quickly as possible, because my understanding it could create up to 50,000 jobs. We have the regional chair, all the mayors on board to move ahead with this project, and why they're dragging their feet, they'll have to explain that.
Were you happy with, I mean, GM will still have a footprint with plans going forward, not nearly as many people employed as in the past. Were you happy with the compromise that was reached?
I won't say I'm happy. What I am pleased to see is General Motors will be continuing manufacturing parts here, the new track. There still is significant research money for the autonomous cars and the electrical cars of the future. But again, Deborah, in my viewpoint, we shouldn't have lost that plant. We produce some of the best quality vehicles around the world. The challenge is, like I said, it's the competitiveness and uncertainty. When we see that other countries are being more aggressive, and in Canada we have the highest electricity rates for industry in North America, once you include all the debt retirement clauses, things like that. These new green programs that the Prime Minister has put in, but he hasn't defined them, so nobody can cost it out. Then the carbon tax, add the carbon tax on top of it. Jurisdictions we compete against, like Michigan, they don't have these taxes. So without that certainty, without the NAFTA being completed, to get these large multi-billion-dollar investments are much more difficult. And I just feel it's an end of an era here, and hopefully we can expand what we have with that footprint if we can get some good policies moving forward.
Okay, I'm going to hold you there. We're going to go for a quick break. More of our conversation with Oshawa MP Colin Carey after this.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like crushing your cans and bottles down in your container's blue box and your box board down in your papers box. This saves a lot of space and reduces the possibility of material blowing out of your blue box on windy days.
Hello, I'm Liz Dowdsville, Lieutenant Governor of Ontario. In 2008, carbon monoxide, a deadly invisible gas, killed an entire family in our province. That tragedy led to a new law requiring homes with potential CO sources to have alarms. John Gignac's family members passed away that day, and he shares his story to save others.
Please make sure you have working CO alarms in your home. Protect your family today.
Looking for great seats to all the action? Rogers Super Sports Pack delivers. With NBA League Pass, get up to 40 out-of-market games every week, all season long. More dunks, more slams, more to love, live in HD. NBA League Pass, part of the Rogers Super Sports Pack. All this for only $35.95 a month. Order through your remote on Channel 431 or call 1-888-ROGERS-1 today.
Got a hankering for more Cinema Scene? Then you'll want to watch Cinema Scene in Review. It's just the reviews. Know before you go. To the movies, that is. That's Cinema Scene in Review, only on Rogers TV.
And we are back. Our guest this week on Talk Politics is newly re-elected Oshawa MP Colin Carey. Good to have you back here.
Great to be here.
So let's talk about going forward and what you hope to accomplish. You've got a couple of private members' bills.
Yeah.
One on human trafficking. Let's talk about that.
Well, I made a commitment to reintroduce that bill, whether it's something that I can do myself or I'll work with another member. It's pretty much a nonpartisan bill, but it was surprising to me to find out that human trafficking is such a big issue here in Canada, especially along the 401 corridor. A colleague of mine, Arnold Viersen, is quick to say human trafficking is happening within 10 blocks of your home. And it is the new scourge. It's basically slavery here in modern day. So last election, unfortunately, the government was moving one way. We were trying to get a little bit tougher on human traffickers. So my private member's bill, like I said, I tried to make it so that it wasn't a partisan issue. It was accepting something called the Palermo Protocol on definitions, but also not having to prove fear when somebody is going to be sentenced for human trafficking. So I will be reintroducing that.
So what do you mean by that, not having to prove fear?
Well, if you can't prove that the victim was fearful of the person who's trafficking them, that was kind of a loophole that these guys could get off with basically a slap on the wrist. And frankly, Deborah, I was really disappointed in the government's bill C-75 that they brought forward. Instead of strengthening the penalties for human trafficking, they made it into more or less a summary conviction for certain parts of it, which could be 2 years less a day or up to a $5,000 fine. And to put this into perspective, when one of these traffickers is trafficking one young woman, that can be up to $300,000 per year in his pocket. So to have a penalty, $5,000 per year, or a $5,000 penalty, that's like a slap on the, that's just the cost of doing business. And we don't want to be known as a community that is not going to be tough on these type of crimes, because it could be your daughter, it could be my daughter, son. It really is hitting across all social economic areas of our communities. So I did make a promise I would be introducing that. I also had a private member's bill on victims' rights. So in other words, you may know Lisa Freeman, who is an advocate for victims' rights locally. She brought in the issue when her father was murdered, and the murderer was convicted, that any changes for his parole, they weren't notified properly. So again, another nonpartisan bill, but Canada can't be seen as a place in the world that we're getting softer on some of these very serious offenses. We need to make sure that we're getting tougher, and I think the government was going the wrong direction. So I'm going to be working hard to reintroduce those. I heard a lot over the election campaign about concerns about privacy. We all have these cell phones, we all have data packs, we all are giving our information away. Even StatsCan was trying to get business information from people. One guy in particular said the biggest issue, the concern he has with this current government is collecting his private data. So I think that's something that we should be looking at as well, because a lot of people are concerned about that. Of course, other local issues bringing them forward. Like I said, we are lacking in infrastructure, and I think the current government has money set aside, but they haven't been very good at getting it out and getting these projects built. So I've already had a meeting with Regional Chair Henry. I'm having a meeting with Mayor Carter coming up, and I've spoken informally about their priorities to make sure that I'm able to bring those forward as well. And again, I'll bring up that Pickering Airport. Is something that could be a huge economic driver for our entire region, but also help Canada become a more positioned place for trade.
There's still opposition, and there will always still be opposition to the Pickering Airport. For, you know, farmers feed families, they say, you know, airports don't. How do you respond to them?
Well, I think with the facts, we as a government work very hard. You know, the Rouge Urban National Park is the first urban national park in the world. Most of the work was done, it was one of my files when I was Parliamentary Secretary to the Environment, so land that was set aside. We've now given quite a bit to enhance the park experience, and I'm very pleased that the current Liberal government has moved forward with the province to make that reality happen. There are also long-standing leases with farmers, so when they say farmers feed people, there is farming going on, and there's been farming going on there for at least 2,500 years in that area. So the airport is not something that's going to take up all that land. There's a huge plot of land there, and by organizing it for all sectors, you can still have agricultural sector there. There's opportunities around the airport to build up some other infrastructures that it would mean it wouldn't be quote-unquote a NIMBY issue where people would be worried about these the noise and the planes and things along those lines. So the economic study has been done, and all I'm asking for, I'm not saying move forward with an airport that, you know, nobody wants or needs, or there's no business case for it, but apparently there is a very strong case. And as far as an economic driver, when you're looking at 50,000 jobs in a community that has just had a huge hit like the loss of General Motors, I think this is really important that the current government makes a priority. So I'll be working with my local colleagues and my colleagues in Ottawa to make sure that this gets addressed promptly, because just leaving these reports on ministers' desks doesn't show a very fulsome you know, action to see what's best for Canadians.
You know, this has been going on for decades now. And it's not only when the Liberals have been in power, but also the Conservatives too. If there is such a good business case for it and a need for it, why has it taken decades?
Well, that's exactly the question that I'm asking. Our government did some good work on that and put forward business case models for it, but there seems to be the brakes have been put on it the last 4 years. You're quite right. That land was expropriated, I think, back in 1972 by another Trudeau, Pierre Elliott Trudeau. So if it's the time now that this is the time to build this airport, I think it behooves all of us to move forward and make sure that economic development in Durham region progresses, and make sure that it's built in such a way that you still have a mixture of uses and sectors in that area.
We talked about minority governments and that, you know, typically they don't last past 18 months. What's tops on your priority list? If there's, you know, one thing that you want to get accomplished in the time you have in this term, what is it? Certainty.
I think the government has to give some certain messages out there that will make sure the Canadians know where they stand, but importantly as well, international investors. This whole housing affordability issue. One of the things that we brought forward for young people who are looking for their future, part of that Canadian dream is home ownership. And we brought forth a 4-point plan. One of them was to actually investigate the money laundering and illegal money coming into Canada's real estate market, which is driving up the cost of prices for homes for people in our communities. Where can we move on that? I think that would be a bipartisan thing that we could move together on, that all Canadians would be supportive of. Jobs. As I said, the uncertainty, especially in the energy sector, I believe Alberta's lost 200,000 jobs. So the message out there right now around the world is Canada's not a good place to do business. And sadly, this government has kind of been here and there and all over the place by not defining what their priorities. Even during the election, we were trying to get them to say, how high is the carbon tax going to go? Imagine you're a company that wants to invest in a new plant in Oshawa, and you can't tell the people that are making the decisions how much it's going to cost to build this unit in Canada versus a plant in the United States. Investors need certainty. Canadian investors need certainty, and we want to make sure we keep as many of those good quality jobs for our kids and for our future here in this country. So certainty, I would say, is the overall theme for this one.
You talk about certainty, but there's so much uncertainty also south of the border right now. Is that something Canada can take an advantage of?
Well, regardless of the uncertainty in the United States, there's a reality. And the reality is the United States is our biggest trading partner, our most important trading partner. And one of the things I was working on in my previous portfolio was Canada-US relations and Southern Ontario economic development. So there are things that we can do to improve our border. No matter who is at the top levels in either government, Canadians have great relationships with the United States, and we have to maintain those and improve them as much as possible. And there are great opportunities. A lot of the state governors, I got to attend a governor's conference down there, wonderful ideas. What worries me is it seems that they're being very progressive in their economic agendas, in their infrastructure, and Canada is being nowhere on the map. If you look at our aging infrastructure here, it seems we can't build a pipeline. Our rail system right now, the strike, the CN strike is causing horrible uncertainty. These strikes don't happen in the United States as often, and our leader has called that the Prime Minister recall Parliament to make sure that we believe in the collective bargaining, but we're serious about these guys coming to an agreement, because it's going to be affecting our jobs not only here locally but the entire country and future decisions with the country. So we can always work with the United States. What is of concern now is we have 2 Canadians being held in China, for example, that we need to address as well. So trade with the Chinese is extremely important, but we should not let that oversee the fact that 75% of our trade's with the United States. Okay, Colin, I'm going to have to stop you there because we're out of time. Oh, wow, that went fast. Yeah. Will you come back? Absolutely. Okay, you heard it here. Thanks again. All right, our guest this week has been Oshawa MP Colin Carey. Until next time, thanks for watching. I'm Deborah Hutchison.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
You know, there's a lot more to the Oshawa Public Libraries than the 500,000 books and materials on for loan. I'll show you. This is the makerspace. This is where we build and create using new technologies. Another new offering is lynda.com, helping you unleash your personal and professional potential.
Welcome to Online Marketing Fundamentals.
And of course, we've got lots of fun for the kids. See, we really are far more than you expect. See you soon.
Dora, we're on to something big.
Parapata, an ancient city made of gold.
We're gonna break some rules. It's now or never.
It's a jungle puzzle. Oops. I listened to everything. It's like Bruce knows everything I've ever felt. Everything I've ever wanted.
Do you think that this man sings for people like us? But he talks to me.
You cannot be serious, mate.
This is Rogers TV, Durham Region. The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
So apparently no couch for on the couch, but we have a fantastic bench until we get our new couch delivered or custom made or whatever. We're trying to figure it out. Until then, we're gonna have to improvise. But we now have Got Style, a fantastic menswear store down in the Distillery District in Toronto, Ontario, are on board to provide my wardrobe. And isn't this really cool? Yeah? Yeah. So welcome, Got Style. We're a bit emotional today and very, very excited. We have brought our lovely show to to our new home at Buddies in Bad Times Theatre, a space that is perfect start for the plans that we have for the bigger show. Until then, until we take that next step, we will continue on documenting many talented and creative folks in our LGBT community and friends and allies. And as we have done in the last 5 years, we will have fantastic chats that are in-depth, casual, happy, positive, affirming. That's what we feel On the Couch is all about. It's about creating an archive and getting to know all the great talents in our community and getting to know them a little bit more deeper than just a 3-minute soundbite. So here is to a great time ahead. Now back to Buddies. A space that is a big part of our modern LGBTQ community in Toronto and Canada. You're surrounded in history when you are here. So to get us going in this space, I felt it's appropriate to just tell you a little bit about Buddies. So I grabbed those little snippets from their website, and here's some information about them. Our queer is beautiful. Our queer is lesbian and gay, it is trans and non-binary, it is intersex, it is bi and poly and pan, it is two-spirit, it is ace, it is demi, and it is so much more. Our queer is all the letters in our alphabet rainbow. It is all the letters that have yet to be included and the ones that are still to be discovered. Our queer demands justice. Our queer seeks meaningful inclusion. Our queer is political. Our queer is anti-racist. Our queer is anti-colonial. Our queer is truth and reconciliation. Our queer is without borders. Is that lovely? Yeah. Yes. I love what they're saying. This is just a snippet. Founded in 1979, since then the company has grown to be the largest and longest-running queer theater company in the world. A unique institution that has made an unparalleled contribution to the acceptance of queer lives in Canada. Although the company eventually achieved notoriety and success in the 1980s as a queer theater company, it was not founded with that intent. Buddies originally focus was on staging adaptations of poetry. I did not actually know that. Since then, the company articulated a vision for its work that was unapologetically political, fiercely pro-sexual, and fundamentally anti-establishment. To find out more about Buddies in Bad Times Theater, visit their website at buddiesandbadtimestheater.com. Now your turn. Hey everyone! Give yourself a big round of applause. Welcome. Thank you for being here. You two at home, give yourself also a big round of applause. Maybe get up and do a wave or something. We will be visiting during the show with Kat Grant and her awesome guest, fine artist Kim Atlin. And later in the show, we will check in with Boyd Kodak and his guest, Patricia Ann Eldridge, from the infamous store, Take a Walk on the Wild Side. My guest is someone totally fitting for this episode, an icon of Buddies herself. If you have ever attended a performance or a dance in this space, you know her in the back bar serving up a storm. She's tough as nails, yet kind and spiritual, and really cares deeply about this community. She's Patricia Wilson. Help me welcome her, everyone. Tricia. Hi, Sarah.
Very nice.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here, and on your own home turf, no less.
So from my office to you.
It's your office here now.
Yeah.
You are the sum of a lot of parts of you. You're a bartender, author, musician, community voice, to name a few. So let's first talk to the bartender. How long have you been part of Buddies?
I started in 1993.
What? Long
what
history.
What the hell is that? I don't know.
You held other jobs, or you still hold other jobs?
I started as a publicist here.
You're the publicist?
Yeah.
You also manage the cabaret space, right? Kinda?
I manage after 10 o'clock any late night events that happen.
Okay.
I do the planning for that.
Okay.
And it's...
You love it?
I love it. I love it
here?
because it's great and we have the community, and also it's a real shit show.
To you, bartending is?
Oh, well, see, I used to work at Lee's Palace too. So there's two different types of bartending.
Okay.
Bartending at Lee's Palace is fantastic. It's pure rock and roll.
Okay.
Bartending here is saving lives.
Wow, nice.
Right? Because we get to see some of the kids that get beat up at breakfast by their dads and have nowhere else to go but to come here. And we get to make them feel individual. We make them feel important, and we make sure they get home safely.
It does feel like a safe space when you're here. I know, and
so
it's a lot of
bartending
diverse
here,
people.
that's what it is for me.
Yeah, Patricia and Buddy. Tell us a funny story.
I'm going to tell you one that kind of changed my view of what Pride was.
Oh.
When you work at Pride all the time, and I have for many years, you get a little bit jaded. All of a sudden, these two men, this is about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, come up. They're probably in their late 60s, early 70s, and they're holding hands. And I ask them what they want, and they burst out crying. I said, oh my God. I said, what the fuck's the matter? Well, like, what did, you know? And they said, we live in Texas.
Oh.
We can't do this in Texas.
Oh.
We can't hold hands in a bar with thousands of people around us and feel the love. And they thanked us.
Beautiful.
And that moment, my life changed and my thought about Pride changed.
Beautiful.
Because Pride isn't for me.
It's for those that...
It's for the people that aren't able to have what I get, thankfully, every day.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful.
Those are my
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. At the conclusion of the story, come to Buddies for Pride and for Love. And we're going to take a little break. We're going to visit with Kat Grant and Kim Atlin, and we will be back with Patricia. All right.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like bundling your cardboard separately. These bundles can act as a lid for your blue box, or placing heavier items such as magazines on top of papers with no material above the rim.
Sometimes it's hard to say goodbye to an old friend. But when you're saying farewell to your vehicle, Kidney Car makes it fast and easy. Just call or visit our website. We'll take any vehicle in any condition and give you a tax receipt for a minimum of $300. No headaches and no towing charges. It's the one-stop solution for getting rid of your unwanted vehicle in just a few short minutes. When your vehicles reach the end of the road, call us toll-free or visit kidneycar.ca.
Hey everyone, Kat Grant here, and I'm here today with the wonderfully talented Kim Atlin, who is a fine artist. She does beautiful oil paintings that are abstract landscapes. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
So you grew up from London, Ontario.
That's correct.
And you had a bit of difficulty growing up as you're dyslexic.
Yes, that's true. I am dyslexic.
Yes. And so you told me before that part of your learning process, you were inspired by a special ed teacher. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
I had a special ed teacher who had great faith in me, and he allowed me to believe that I could do anything. And it was really fortunate at that time because, as with most people, you know, sometimes you just need one person to believe in you, and then you can do anything.
So you went to OCAD, but ironically, you didn't do painting. What were your majors?
I majored in printmaking and sculpture, and I didn't start painting until after I graduated.
And where did you do that?
I actually took a course with Tom Dean after graduation, who's a Toronto painter, or actually he's a Toronto sculptor, and he believed at the time that painting wasn't dead and that it should be investigated further, and so he just taught painting and had with great passion.
Kim's work is very colorful and beautiful. How do you pick your scenes?
I really have no problem with inspiration. This summer I went on canoe trips and kayaking trips, and I was actually, for the first time ever, I started painting within a kayak, which was very interesting for me. It was, you had to be very quick, and I also have an allotment garden down here in Toronto, and I find that very inspiring as well. And there's a ton of other stuff.
Do you take a camera out and take a photo, or is it all from your memory?
Both. I do both from photos and from memory and from sketching. So yeah, all of it.
The last year you've had, I believe, 2 gallery shows?
Yes, I had a show in Edmonton in February when the polar vortex was there, and it didn't leave the entire duration of the show, so it was minus 25 the entire time. And I also had a show in Toronto in April.
And what gallery was that?
That was at Diana Witt Gallery down in Leslieville.
And in the future, coming up, I believe that you are back at Diana Witt?
They are taking me to Art Toronto. That's in October here in Toronto, and then I've got something scheduled for 2020 in London, Ontario.
Kim's work is all over. She's very well known and respected, so we are gonna want to see her. Tell everyone where they can find you.
So you can find me on Instagram at Kim Atlin, and I have a website, just kimatlin.com, and I'm a little bit on Facebook. I'm not very good at Facebook.
Yes, so check out her website. Thanks so much for coming.
Oh, thanks for
really appreciate it. Beautiful work.
Thanks.
Woohoo! So now we're going to get to the next part of you, the author.
Part of me, the author.
Okay. Your prose and poetry has been published in anthologies and chapbooks, and you recently had 2 acclaimed books, Musings from the Bunker, Slouching Towards Womanhood, as well as your collaborative poetry collection, Trans Meditations, with David Bateman.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about those 2 books, please.
I do a journal, but I do it on Facebook every day.
I read
it.
And
people ask me to write, make a book from it, and it was not something I ever thought. But David Bateman, he insisted that it was the thing to do. So David, through R.M. Vaughan, Richard Vaughan is a well-known author in our community, put David Bateman and David as my editor. So David sat down, and God bless him, he took all my Facebook posts and put them all together, and then some of my stories. The musings are the Facebook and some poetry, and then Slouching Towards Womanhood is part of the book that are different stories that happens while I was in California, while I was on the road on Route 66, while I was trying to decide one day I wanted to be, change my sex, the other day I didn't want, the one day I did, all those fucking things have happened.
You're honest.
Well, if you're not honest, then why are you alive? And it's not bad.
And we can find it on Amazon.
Oh, yes. I'm going to give a plug here. Amazon.ca.
And I hear you're collaborating, or maybe not collaborating, on something with Dr. Sky Gilbert, the founder, one of the founders of Buddies. What is that all about?
Well, just a Founders and Buddies is also Sky Gilbert. Sky hired me at Buddies many, many years ago as a publicist. What I'm doing is David Bateman and I, we did it last year and we'll do it this year. Sky teaches at Guelph University, and he's asked us to go up and read our books to his students because it was so successful last time. So we are very, very honored to do it. I love those damn kids.
Canadian playwright Judith Thompson has described your daily musings as like Proust, but in the here and now. What does that feel to you or mean to you, or that sentence?
What do you say?
It's in your biography.
I mean, she said it. It was like absolutely astounding. And Judith Thompson, if you don't know Judith Thompson,
you should.
She is the shits of theater, right? She's the best. So to have her say that is like the biggest honor.
That's beautiful. Let's switch now to the musician in you. How did your love for music start, and what do you play, Patricia?
I write songs for the band, and I play guitar. And for a band called Crack Puppy.
Crack Puppy.
Right? And but I started with music when I was about this high. And my father used to have to drive me to the Ursuline School Convent of Music in Windsor, Ontario, where I took my piano lessons. And we would walk into this big hall, and all it was shuffling penguins. The nuns just shuffling from room to room, and you're sitting in a waiting room, knowing that somewhere in one of those rooms you're going to go into, and you're going to either meet your death or learn piano.
I've always been actually curious about where the name Crack Puppy is. It's an amusing name. What
yeah,
does it mean
it
to
is.
you?
I hate to say it, but it happened over drugs and booze.
Okay.
So
I kind of figured something happened while you're kind of high.
The singer in the band, he and I were drinking Jack Daniels in my living room, which I know is unheard of. And we would drink, and I have a little time, at that point, she was only 8 months old, a little half Jack, half Chihuahua. And she was like, I said, oh my God, that fucking dog is on crack. And
that's what the name came from.
And the singer said, Puppy, and I said, oh my God, that's the name of the band.
Crack Puppy.
Crack Puppy.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. What are you currently working on with the band?
We're all a little older now, a little creakier, and we may get back together, but it's not the end of the story. But right now I'm writing some songs, and I have a couple people I'm working with, and you never quit. You just keep going.
I don't think you can get the musician out of you once you're a musician.
Muddy Waters played until the day he died.
Yeah. Tell us of some exciting venues that you've played over time.
My favorite venue in Toronto is the Horseshoe Tavern.
Nice.
I have played for the longest time. We were playing there every month, sometimes twice a month.
Oh, wow.
And it was the best. And Lee's Palace is great. I mean, I played Yonge and Dundas Square a few times.
Yeah,
and that was great, and
that's a lot. That's a big crowd.
A big crowd, and one of those was for the
Transmarsh?
Yes, thank you.
The Transmarsh.
Thank you. And we played after that.
In your parts, the community voice. You have been part of the community for a long time now.
Too long, but that's okay. I'll try. I'll skip
we love our aging. What causes along the journey did you get most passionate about in the community?
I think if you're really into the community, for me, this is my own story. It's your passion happens around what you feel about yourself. You don't, I'm not one person
You
to
don't select choices.
I don't select choices.
Yeah.
There's a million choices out there. There's a million things. And for me, my passion comes around with people that I can identify with face to face. I'm a face to face person.
What work is happening at the present in the community that you applauding?
The world is a really precarious place right now. I mean, we could be at the end of the world. Do we change the climate? Or do we change the government? Or should it
Something
be
has
about
to
gender
change.
rights?
Yeah.
Should it be about, what should it be? Take your pick.
Yeah.
There's so much, right? And so there's nothing that really grabs me right now except that people should be kinder to each other, that's all.
Kinder, I like that.
Yeah,
We like that, right? Kinder is always the way to go. We are going to take a little break. We're going to check in with Boyd Kodak and his guest Patricia Ann Aldridge, and we will be back with the lovely Patricia here. So, let's take a little break.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like crushing your cans and bottles down in your container's blue box and your box board down in your papers box. This saves a lot of space and reduces the possibility of material blowing out of your blue box on windy days.
It was my daughter's birthday. She was blowing out the candles on our cake when we heard coming from the TV. So we stopped and listened, and it helped us get to safety. That's why when I think of my daughter's birthday, because now she gets to keep having them.
Durham is a great place to raise a family. There's so much to do. And What's on Durham has your monthly checklist of kid-approved fun. Watch What's on Durham only on Rogers TV.
Hi, I am delighted to have as my guest on this show, Patricia Ann Aldridge. Patricia is the owner and operator of a safe space called Take a Walk on the Wild Side that's been around for 32 years. Welcome, my darling. Tell us about Take a Walk on the Wild Side.
I started Take a Walk on the Wild Side in 1987, and nobody would run my ads. First newspaper was Extra, and they did ads for Wild Side. And we got people from all over the world shortly after that, because I ended up going on the Donahue show with a trans woman that I fell in love with.
And came to get what at the store? Tell us, what do you provide?
We help men to look like women.
So you help guide people through their transition process.
Yes, you could say that.
Yes.
That's very good.
Yeah. Now, let's hear a bit about your famous wedding.
We got married right here in Buddies in Bad Times Theater. Patty, me, and Roxy. We had like a drag show before the ceremony, and Reverend Brent Hawks.
Okay, so was this the first?
Patricia Wilson was there.
Was she? You had famous guests. Wow, that's amazing.
Guy Gilbert was my maid of honor. My wedding gown came from the transformation room at Take a Walk on the Wild Side.
Oh, nice.
So I wore a wedding gown that probably 200 guys had worn before me. And I had nothing for the bridesmaids. We had 12 bridesmaids. So I ran into my store, and the only thing I could find was French-made outfits. So I'm sure it's the only wedding in history that has the bridal party French-made.
I hear that you were part of a fabulous documentary that won a recent award.
Filming company that did this, the director and the writers, were called Lifted Eyes Media. There was 2 or 3 other guests who were very genuine, honest, sincere people. You know, like Sabrina, and she forgot her teeth. You know, so, but when I got that red wig on Sabrina's head and held up the mirror and said, "What do you think?" And Sabrina just smiled with a mouthful of gums.
That's
and
adorable.
it was like Christmas for Sabrina.
Super. Tell us now a little more about the store, where we can find you, where people can go to shop.
Shopwildside.com. We also have a separate site called wildside.org, wildside.org. Store is at 161 Gerrard Street East, across from Allen Gardens.
Okay, that's in Toronto. Make sure you get there. Thank you, Patty. It has been such a pleasure.
And we are back with the lovely Patricia Wilson, everyone. Patricia, you were born across the river from the Motor City in the same year that Elvis Presley recorded That's All Right, Mama.
Actually, the same year and the same day.
Same day he recorded.
July 5th, 1954.
That's lots of history. And ever since, you have been, quote unquote, chasing the role wherever you can find it. How has the chase been?
Well, rock and roll. Rock is what you see. Roll is a heart of rock.
Yay.
So I'm chasing the roll, and it's gone all right.
Good.
Look around the audience, look around what I do. The
Been a good
roll
journey.
and the heart is all there.
We love hearing that. You've been really amazing for our community. Yeah, Patricia. Let's talk about growing up. How was it growing up there? How was your childhood? How was all of that?
Oh,
family.
The drugs were amazing.
So move there if you need good drugs.
Drugs are amazing. I mean, Detroit was right there. Drugs are amazing. It was nice. I grew up during the punk generation. It was great.
Oh yeah.
And we would
Must have been
drink.
fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And we would drink in the States and drink in Canada.
Huh.
But we also had lots of parkland, and I grew up on the river.
Oh, no.
So it'll always be in my blood.
Now you have your own small family?
Yes, I have 2 cats, 2 dogs, and a lesbian at home. And I think that's a good enough family.
That's all what you need in this life. 2 cats, 2 dogs, and a lesbian.
Yeah, that's a pretty good family.
Spiritually speaking, what do you believe in, Patricia?
Spiritually, it's about when you get up in the morning, you like what you see in the mirror.
No.
Doesn't matter. You have to like what you see in the mirror. Secondly, you have to have that one thing that makes you get away from that mirror, and make your dream happen. That's what our lives are about. That's my spirituality.
Cool. And that's a great thing to believe in. It's time to wrap up. So it's time for our quick questions. Just answer the first thing that comes to mind. Your favorite writers, go.
Patti Smith. I like Joyce Carol Oates. I love William Blake.
William Blake, right?
Okay.
Your favorite bands?
I've always loved Motorhead, Led Zeppelin.
Hardcore.
I love the Beatles.
Beatles? Oh, cool.
Rolling Stones, actually, if everything was taken away, I would always have the Rolling Stones.
Beautiful. Yes, we love those. A book currently on your nightstand?
The Year of the Monkey.
Nice.
Patti Smith.
Best way to unwind after a long day?
In my living room with a Jack and soda and the 2 dogs, 2 cats, and a lesbian.
Back to that. And your favorite food to eat?
Food is, as Buddha said, food is love. So anything I eat, as long as it's made with love,
beautiful, nice. Okay, now if you look at the camera, what would you say to the LGBT community after all this time being part of it, and to our audience at home?
Be who you are. Always tell the truth to yourself first. If you have to lie to the community, make sure there's a good reason for it, but always be true to yourself.
Thank you. We love you. Yes. So there you have it, folks. Our first filming at Buddies and Bad Times Theater, and good times had by all. Join us for a future filming. You can now actually get your absolutely free tickets on Buddies and Bad Times website, or write us on facebook.com/join us on the couch. Lean on one another. We are community. We have amazing friends and allies. We did say that the world sometimes may feel difficult these days, but there are a lot of wonderful, loving people. And when it doesn't feel that way, we have each other. So shine bright, my beautiful friends, and we'll see you soon. Have a great night. Thank you. All right.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Summer days, summer nights, lots of things to do, places to go, and people to see. If you're having a few drinks, be sure to plan ahead and get home safely. We don't want to pick you up. Drinking drivers risk injuries to themselves and others and take chances with their license, their jobs, and their future. Remember what's at stake and choose your ride, whether you're the driver, the passenger, or the party host. Thanks for supporting Sober Driving. I hope we never meet.
Visit arrivealive.org to find out more.
Dora, we're on to something big.
Parapata, an ancient city made of gold.
We're gonna break some rules. It's now or never.
It's a jungle puzzle. Oops. I listened to everything. It's like Bruce knows everything I've ever felt. Everything I've ever wanted.
You think that this man sings for people like us?
But he talks to me.
You cannot be serious, mate.
You're watching Rogers TV. The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Welcome to Inside Durham. I'm Susie, your host for this week. On this episode, we are featuring an amazing little girl who started the Super Sophia Project, the Professors of Funk event, buying local at the downtown Whippy Christmas Market, and the Humane Society of Durham Region. Up first, Sophia and her mom, Nicole, have joined us today to talk about the amazing endeavor that she has brought to joy to all these children in the Durham region. Nice to meet you, Sophia.
Nice to meet you, too.
Nice to meet you, Nicole. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so love boxes. They are beautiful.
Thank you.
Awesome love boxes. They are filled with joy to make kids happy, right?
Yeah.
So why did you guys start making love boxes?
We started the love boxes when Sophia was diagnosed with cancer in 2012, when she was 2 years old. So throughout her treatment, she always remained the beautiful face of hope, and she wanted to give back and uplift the spirits of other kids who were sick, because today she is 9 and she's cancer-free.
Oh, tingles, tingles, tingles. Woo! That's great news. That's great news. So I know that I was reading and I heard that someone at the hospital, when you were at the hospital, did something nice for you. They gave you a sticker, and that kind of made you feel really good.
Yeah.
And then that's what spurred this whole thing. How many love boxes have you guys made for, I don't know, altogether since you've started?
So we've been very blessed this year that we've exceeded our goal of over 5,000, and in total we've gifted over 10,000 boxes to kids in hospitals across the GTA, Durham, and up north.
Okay, so how does this work? So how does someone get a box to start filling it?
So a member of the community can contact us via our website, and they would come and pick up a box. Okay. And it's funny because it may just be a simple box, but what goes put into the box is so much more. It just gets filled with love, toys, books.
Okay, let's take a look at one of these boxes. So this is a box. On the side it says boy 15 to 18, and people get to choose their age group, or?
They can. At the beginning we have a set amount because we want to have an equal amount of boxes for all the kids at the hospital, so it's fair.
Wow.
And something like that is lovely for like a teenage
little boy.
And sometimes they forget about the teenagers, but they still go to peds up until they're 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And we do all the way from the NICU babies all the way up to the teens.
Okay, that's great. So, is there certain places that you send it, or is it like just Durham region, or?
So we do Durham, we do Lake Ridge, we do hospitals in Scarborough, we do the GTA, and we have done hospitals in Barrie and Orillia.
Okay, so let's say my daughter's in the hospital and I want a box for her. Is there a way for me to request a box,
Yes.
or do you just?
So lately, we have been getting requests. They can, again, contact us through the website, and then we would get a box to them. We've had many kids who are at Sick Kids, and the moms have contacted us.
Look at these pictures. So these are like work people.
Yeah, so those are corporations, and there's one of our little recipient who received a love box, who's adorable.
That's amazing.
And you can see, and there's Sophia, and that's the famous sticker pack she got from the custodian at Sick Kids, that's where the boxes were inspired from.
Wow, Sophia. So I know that it made you feel great. And how do you think that all the kids are feeling when they receive one of your boxes?
They feel happy.
Yeah.
And it makes them feel really good.
That's great. That makes me so happy. So the boxes, they oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank here. I'm just so happy about, and like I got tears coming in. So it makes me feel really happy that you guys are doing this.
Thank you.
And what's your goal for this year? Like, we're almost done the year. You've exceeded your 5,000 boxes for all the kids. Moving forward, you guys have a new goal for next year?
We don't have a number, but you know what? We just want to keep blessing as many children as we can and their families. So even though right now we are currently out of boxes, we are accepting toy donations, crafts, games, stuffed animals.
Oh.
So all of this still gets gifted to the kids. It may not go directly in the box, but all these kids will get that. So
okay, so let's say someone wants to donate some stuff to a box. They don't want to make a full box. They just want to throw some stuff together, send it your way. They just call you or email you?
Yeah, they can email us. And we have certain locations throughout the city that they can drop them off to.
Okay. So I know that you guys deliver boxes throughout the year.
Yes.
Correct? But your big one is Christmas.
Yes, our big one is Christmas. So the first and the second week of December is when all our Super Sophia Project angels will go out there and deliver all the boxes to the hospitals.
Okay. To become an angel, how do you become an angel?
You just have to love.
Yeah. So so that's your volunteers.
Correct.
Do you have a lot of volunteers?
We do.
That's great. It's so nice to see so many people just sharing love, and you know, the idea that this one little girl and you guys had, and it's helped so many people. It makes me so happy, and I'm really happy, and I thank you so much for doing what you do. And I know it takes a lot, and it's just great. It's just great. I thank you so much, and these love boxes are helping so many people, and I hope you continued success with your love boxes. And yeah, so please check out the supersophiaproject.ca to donate or volunteer, find out more information on love boxes. Stay tuned as we're about to see why you should start a new tradition and attend the Professors of Funk annual Christmas concert.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like bundling your cardboard separately. These bundles can act as a lid for your blue box or placing heavier items such as magazines on top of papers with no material above the rim.
When I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is put on my ad.
Jaylen's been able to have the prosthetics and have the support that she needs because of the people who donate to the War Amps.
My arm helps me to pick flowers.
She can do things on her own. She doesn't need someone else to do it for her.
I love all the pretty colors of flowers, but yellow's my favorite color.
I'm here with Derek to talk about the Professors of Funk Friends and Family Christmas Special. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
So, Professors of Funk, who made up that title?
I think it came up out of a little round table like years ago, even before this version of the band existed. And we didn't even plan on it existing forever, but it just stuck. So,
I love the word funk. It just makes me want to just dance.
Well, that's what we do normally.
Great. So how are you involved with the Professors of Funk?
So I'm the band leader. I also play keyboards and one of the singers in the band, and that's and the founder as well too.
Awesome. Yeah. So there's a concert coming up.
Yeah.
Right. It's a 2-day concert at the Simcoe. Where is it?
Simcoe Street United Church, downtown Oshawa.
Simcoe Street United Church.
Yeah.
And the days. What are the days?
So it's December 18th and 19th. It's a Wednesday and Thursday evening. It's just a week before Christmas. A good time to do Christmas concerts because it's always been a wasteland of events. Everything gets done out of the way, and then people say there's nothing to attend. So that's why we do it then.
That's wonderful. And the times, not too late.
7:30 to 9. Doors open at 6:30. It's general admission, general seating, so people can get in and find a seat and get comfortable.
Okay. What kind of music are you playing? Like old school stuff, new jams? We got trumpets in there.
We try to do a range. We have so the premise of the concert, we play, but then we also have these really great guest singers who join us, and they come from a whole range of backgrounds musically. So over the years, we've had singers from rock background, folk, country, classically trained. It really is truly a range of genres. So there's all sorts of stuff.
That's amazing. So, oh wow, look at that.
It's a beautiful church. Yeah. So it's this landmark. It's an icon downtown Oshawa. It's been there for over 150 years. It was 1867, same year as it's as old as Canada.
No way.
It's just a spectacular building to do a concert, and we always enjoy being there. And the acoustics are nice and warm in there. It's not too bouncy, not too dead. It's just perfect for a concert like this.
No, the feeling that you get when you're in a place like that at Christmas, it reminds me of Home Alone when he's at the church there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think that's why people enjoy coming to that venue in particular, because it really does capture that feeling that people have right around Christmas time.
So all these performers, this is all volunteer?
So we provide an honorarium for them, but these are all professionals, like some of the best in the region. So they are definitely playing below the scale that they would usually be hired for. So they're very generous with their time in this one.
So the cost of tickets, I know this is new. This is your 6th year.
Yeah.
So the cost of tickets, if you want to be like front row and center, it's $50 a ticket.
Yeah, so this is new, you're right. This is the first year we're trying it. We're going to see how it goes because it is a fundraiser. And we figured if there's people out there who want to pitch in a little bit more, because traditionally it's been a pay what you can concert. We've always had a suggested amount, but we want to make sure that people can get in one way or the other. It's a big space, there's room, and we feel that if we're doing this fundraiser for the mission, we also want people of whatever their means are, including the people who access the services of the mission, to feel welcome to come as well. However, there may be people out there who can pitch in a little bit more.
Yes.
And we want to be able to both honor that by saying, well, you know what, here's some great seats if you want to do that for that $50 ticket, but you're still welcome either way. There's still the pay what you can element.
That's amazing.
Well.
So all the proceeds from the tickets go to the backdoor mission.
Every dollar. Yeah.
Backdoor mission. What kind of charity is this?
Okay. Yeah. So it's been there for about 25 years, downtown Oshawa, and the easiest way to describe it is it's a drop-in. It's a drop-in for those who are socioeconomically marginalized, who are struggling, and I think importantly, the thing to know about it, I mean, there's some snacks and coffee, and there's some other services. We partner with some other agencies who also come in and set some of their services up there. But I think the important thing that we've actually discovered just in the last year or two of our operations there is that it's also a social hub for people who find that they're socially isolated. For them, it's their place to come and connect with their friends, be a part of a community, which really is such a fundamental human need. But sometimes when we get talking about charity and socioeconomic displacement, we talk a lot about food and shelter, and these are really important things, and income. But sometimes we forget that very basic social need. That really, if somebody doesn't have that, you can really fall apart without that, right?
It's easier to do it with help than alone.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you're an Oshawa counselor.
I am, yes.
How do you find the time?
So it's been a year, just coming up on a year. You know, I'm enjoying it a lot. It's always interesting. You know, it's a mix of moments of extreme gratification, and then other times when it's challenges, and you're trying to work through those challenges and find a path forward. And you know, I knew signing up for it that you're going to have days that are going to be great, and others where you're not going to get what you want. But I think overall it's satisfying because you really are working with and for the community, and trying to find ways to improve the community at the end of the day.
Yeah, so one person can just start this huge rush, and then it helps so many people. And so it just makes me really happy. How much money has been raised for the Backdoor Mission?
So in the first 5 years, we've raised over $50,000 for the mission. Yeah, and all with the Pay What You Can ticket. So that's pretty great.
That's amazing. I'm super excited to go because I would love to come, start a new tradition with my family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, is there anything else you want to say about this event that we haven't said already?
That we haven't said already. I think it's just it's a great time. We've been able to do this without big advertising over the years. It's been word of mouth, and I think that's the really telling thing about it. It's been people who I run into them in June, and they'll say, "Aren't you the Christmas concert guy?" Kind of a funny reputation to have, I guess, amongst some people. But you know, they say we're looking forward to it. We went last year, and we're bringing more people next year.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so go to ticketscene.ca and search Professors of Funk to get your tickets now. And after the break, get ready to find out what the Downtown Whitby BIA is organizing.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like crushing your cans and bottles down in your container's blue box and your box board down in your papers box. This saves a lot of space and reduces the possibility of material blowing out of your blue box on windy days.
Let's go to work. Our killer left no fingerprints, no witnesses, and no evidence whatsoever. This is next level stuff.
You don't know what this world is like.
I'm wanted for homicide.
This place is full of crazy.
Rex?
Rex.
Rex is picking up on something. It's like we both have this hunch. When you get hunches, I get nervous.
What's this, good cop, bad cop? You're a good boy.
Hudson and Rex, Tuesdays, 8/7 Central on City TV.
Durham is a great place to raise a family. There's so much to do. And What's on Durham has your monthly checklist of kid-approved fun. Watch What's on Durham only on Rogers TV.
Carrie from the Downtown Whitby BIA has come to give us details about this fun event running on December 6th to 8th at Celebration Square, which is outside of the Whitby Public Library on Highway 2. Christmas is coming!
Yes!
So, Whitby BIA,
yes.
Business Improvement Area.
Yes.
What is where did you guys come from?
Where did we come from? Business improvement areas are very, very common in downtowns. They are committees of council, which are self-funded through a property tax levy within a specific geographical area.
Okay, so I have never heard of you guys before. Why?
Why? Because Whitby actually didn't have a BIA for about 20 years.
Wow.
Back in the 90s it disbanded. There was a couple of attempts in the 2000s to get it back, but unsuccessful. And finally in 2017 we've got the vote, because it has to go to a property owner vote, and we got it back finally. So we are back in business.
The event that you guys are holding is the
Downtown Whitby Christmas Market.
Whitby Christmas Market,
yeah.
Okay.
And we're holding it this year in conjunction with the Town of Whitby Tree Lighting and the Santa Claus Parade.
Perfect timing.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Yeah. Busy weekend.
Yeah. You guys had an event last year, the Whitby Christmas Market, but it wasn't... Where was it last year?
Last year it was in Municipal Lot number 4, which was behind our old fire hall. So we had to move it this year because the fire hall is no more. It's torn down.
Yes.
There's a beautiful new mixed development going on that site.
So that's going to be bringing lots of stuff.
Bringing lots of people. So, so yeah, we moved it.
This event, Christmas event, the vendors.
Yeah, we've got 15 vendors coming.
15 vendors, okay. So I'm super excited to go through and look at all the different vendors and pick some stuff.
Yes.
List of vendors. Do we have a list of vendors?
We have a list of vendors, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, we've got Greatest Gifts is coming. Top of the Hill
Words
Jewelry.
on Wood, they're downtown.
Words on Wood is a downtown business. Yeah. Stamped Memories by Amanda. Amazing
All
jewelry.
Of that.
All of that.
I
Some
love
nice
olives.
it's balsamic vinegars and olive oils. Dippings. Oh, it's delicious.
That's my favorite.
Delicious. Gangster Cheese is going to be on site doing food. Lowlands Pizza.
So
Beaver
there's
Tails.
food and crafting stuff.
Yeah, there's some crafts for kids. Shaw Studios is going to be holding a craft station where the kids can make and take home crafts complimentary. Yeah.
Okay. So, what about? So they got food. What about drinks?
Drinks. It is a licensed event on the Saturday and the Sunday. So one of the
My husband's coming.
Yeah, amazing. We will hold our Beer Fest back in September, and the People's Choice winner of Beer Fest gets to come and be a vendor at the Christmas market as part of their sort of.
And who was the?
It was Little Beasts in
Little
Whitby.
Beasts.
So Erin and her team are coming and serving up some.
Okay, so you're going to have tables?
There'll be tables.
Kind of like an Oktoberfest, but Winterfest.
Exactly. Picture Eddie bulbs, picture wine barrels, and picture a big giant skating rink right in the middle.
They do have a Toronto Christmas market.
Yes.
So this is like the little sister of the Toronto.
Is.
So we don't have to travel.
Exactly.
We don't have to travel.
Exactly. No traveling. Traveling.
Yeah,
we could just go.
I could probably walk there or take the bus.
Yep. Transit goes right by the library.
What about cash? Do people need? It's probably a good idea.
It's probably a good idea to bring cash. Some of the vendors do have the Square payment systems, but yeah, I would bank on some cash just to be on the safe side.
There is a TD bank.
There is a bank across the street. There's a bank right downtown. There's another bank right beside us.
Okay, and
lots of opportunities.
Actually, I was just looking at your Facebook account, and you've got music.
Yes, live entertainment all weekend.
That is it's gonna be like a bar outside.
It
with
is.
Family and Christmas and
skating and a skating rink.
What?
There's a skating rink
No
right in the
way.
middle. Yep.
In Whitby.
Right in Celebration Square, we're putting a 16x40 skating rink.
So
right in the middle of the.
That I did not expect. I didn't even know that.
Yep. So bring your own skates. We do have skate rentals available.
Skate rentals. That's a great
complimentary,
idea.
but bring your own. We don't have. We only have a limited amount.
I am super excited.
Yeah.
What day was it again? The 5th and the 6th?
6th, 7th, and 8th.
7th, and 8th. When's the tree lighting?
The tree lighting is on the 6th on the evening from
Friday.
6 to 8. Yes.
Okay.
Then Santa Claus Parade runs through downtown Whitby on the Saturday morning, the 7th, from 10 to 12. Then our market will open just after that, from 12 to 11,
okay,
and then Sunday.
So pretty much I'm going to just have to set up a tent and live
in Celebration Square.
Because there's so many things going on.
There's lots, yeah.
Wow, that's
lots.
exciting. Is there going to be any type of donation of like a toy drive or a food drive?
So we're actually doing our food drive this Friday because we're doing our Shop Late and Donate event this Friday. What we're actually doing is we've partnered with Skedaddle Humane Wildlife Control. They've done all of our Christmas decor for us, and they are going to stuff one of their vans with food and toys and treats for the Humane Society. So we're going to stuff the car with all things
that
pets.
You've already gathered.
Yes.
And can people shove more stuff?
Absolutely,
in the van?
yeah. Bring anything you want,
Let's say
and
I
we'll
wanted to bring
shove
something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so for kids,
for pets. We're doing a pet drive.
Only pets.
Oh, we're doing a pet drive.
Okay.
Yeah, just because it fits with their brand, right? They do humane wildlife removal.
Oh, I am so excited.
Yeah,
it's going to be a great time. And you said that the time on the Friday,
6 to 9.
6 to 9, and then will the beer tent be open?
No, the beer tent will be open Saturday at noon.
So, okay, so we're having a noon, we're
day drinking, basically. We're basically day drinking.
Okay, children, you do the crafts over there, and I'll be over here.
That's right.
Okay, so from noon to
11 on the Saturday.
11 p.m. Okay, is the full event, and then on Sunday
11 to 4.
11 to 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, it sounds amazing.
Jam-packed.
I'm super excited. Wow.
Yeah.
What do you find is one of the most unique things about Whitby's downtown area?
Oh, downtown's so historic. I've grown up in Whitby for the last 40 years. I've been a resident for all of my life. And it's just, we've got unique shops. There's a unique small town vibe downtown. For a large town, it's a small town.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows each other and are out there to help each other and looking out for each other. Like it's just...
That's
great.
Great.
Place to be.
The warm cuddles of Christmas time.
Yes.
I love it. So I'm very excited to get into the happy holiday spirit and happy to support the local businesses at this time of year. I can't wait to see what kind of amazing vendors will be there and what they have to offer. Next up is the Humane Society of Durham Region. Let's see what animal visits us today.
there, I'm Allie and this is Danielle. Join us daily on Rogers TV as we bring you House Blend, a full body, glute, core, upper and lower focused series that you can do with little to no equipment from the comfort of your home. This is the workout that you've been looking for. This is what you need. It doesn't cost money and it just takes a fraction of your day. So carve out 20 minutes for yourself and join us daily at Rogers TV right here.
We have a lovely friend up for adoption today. Please welcome Elizabeth and Princess.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Of course.
Wow, she is gorgeous.
She is.
Hi, Princess.
She's a sweet girl.
So, how long has Princess been at the shelter?
She's been at the shelter for a little while now. She's just picky about finding her forever home with the right family.
Well, someone that likes to pet her, because I can hear her purring from here.
Yeah, she absolutely loves the attention.
Oh, she's great. Does she have like a backstory of how she got to the shelter?
Yeah, so all of the animals that come into the shelter are from situations where people could no longer care for their animals. So whether that be a housing issue or potentially cost of medical care, which can often be very expensive. People will bring their animals to us so that we can help support them and care for their animals.
Wow. Do you know what type of cat she is?
So we're not exactly sure what her breed is, but she is probably a medium to long-haired cat. So she is going to require lots of grooming and lots of attention.
Mm-hmm. Oh, her eyes are just beautiful.
Yeah, she's just the sweetest little girl.
And she's good with cats.
She's good with other
animals,
cats. Yeah,
kids.
she does great. Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. So it's just the perfect house cat.
Yeah, she's just someone who's looking for people to love her.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And the process to adopt, is it quick? How long, like how much does it cost? What's the...
Yeah, so this little girl is actually 6 years old.
Okay.
So she would fall into our 110 range. So her adoption fee would be 110, but there always is the potential for, if she's had a rabies vaccine, then we throw on an extra $20 just to cover that vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
There's a questionnaire that we have you guys fill out first. So anytime somebody's interested in adopting, it just tells us more about you. And then we do an interview with the potential family that's looking to bring home the animal so that we can make sure it's the right fit for everyone.
So let's say someone wanted to buy Princess today.
Yep.
And take her home for Christmas.
Yeah.
Is there enough time?
There's absolutely enough time.
Ooh.
Absolutely. She's
All
ready to
right.
go home today. So.
That's great. No, she is wonderful. She's been very good. She's wagging her tail and she's purring like crazy.
Yep.
So types of things people can donate to a shelter at this time that would be good for the animals.
Yeah, so we definitely are always looking for food for the shelter. We have an actual Christmas wish list. So if you want to come by the shelter and pick one up, we give them out to the public in case they are looking to do fundraisers or anything to help raise donations for the shelter. We're always looking for cat beds, dog toys, cat toys.
Okay, that's wonderful. And volunteer opportunities at the shelter?
Absolutely. So we're always looking for more foster homes for all of the animals. We never have enough foster homes for people.
Foster homes. So what does that entail? Like, do I just take her home with me and chill with her
we
until
provide
someone...
you all of the stuff to do the caring.
Awesome.
You just have to do the caring.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so we also have an event you guys are holding, Pet Pics with Santa, and I know that parents get their kids' pictures done. I actually just recently got my kids' pictures done. So now we can do it with their animals.
Absolutely, and the whole family can join in. We actually
that's gonna be awesome.
Have no issue with it being Santa and your pets and your whole family. In fact, some years we have people dress up.
Do the cats dress up? Can we put a hat on a cat?
Absolutely. Santa
that would be a
loves
great
that.
Christmas card. We need to bring the Christmas cards back with their cats.
Yeah, so
or
packages
animals.
start about $15
Perfect.
and go up from there.
And all of that money goes straight
to the Humane Society of Durham Region. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming, and
No
it was nice to
problem.
meet you, Princess.
Ugh.
I want to thank all of our guests for their time, and I hope you've enjoyed Inside Durham this week.
the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Dora, we're on to something big.
Parapata, an ancient city made of gold.
We're gonna break some rules.
It's now or never.
It's a jungle puzzle. Oops. I listened to everything. It's like Bruce knows everything I've ever felt. Everything I've ever wanted.
You think that this man sings for people like us?
But he talks to me.
You cannot be serious, mate.
This is Rogers TV, Durham Region. The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.